That's fine.
Sullivan! God, it is another recording of getting some color. I almost said getting some trouble. That's like another
That's the
show
cross.
name.
That's the crossover.
Yeah. Getting some color, more of the Monday Night Wars, WCW Nitro and WWF Raw, October 23rd, 1995. And we're also going to be covering the WCW Halloween Havoc 1995. But let's get into Nitro because Nitro is always the beginning of every Monday night. We have Eric Bischoff, Bobby Heenan, and Steve McMichael back on the commentary like usual, and they are in Huntsville, Alabama.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
According, and finally, they had numbers for this one. The history of WWE.com. 7,000 fans attended the show with only 2,100 paying for tickets. So they're still kind of struggling for getting people to buy their tickets. But I'm sure that will change in a couple of years.
Business is just kind of down everywhere right this year.
Yep, and I have a feeling it's probably a little more down in WWF, right? Would you think?
Um, it I don't know if they're off worse than they are. It seems like they're kind of the same. It's just compared to where they were at before. Like even the previous 2 years were better. So to Vince, it like hurts even more. He got so pissed off he did shit like get rid of the water coolers in the office and stuff to save money after this year.
Huh. I always thought that was like a saying or whatever. That actually happened. That's fucking
No,
funny.
that really happened. Yeah.
Mm. Um, Opening match was kind of weird. I thought this was supposed to be in Halloween Havoc. Randy Savage versus Kurosawa, not the director.
He's the son of the director.
With Colonel Parker.
This is such a weird pairing, like
Mm-hmm.
those two.
I guess he had to find like another Pacific person, Pacific Ocean heritage, whatever.
Oceania.
Yeah. I was not expecting this. Probably because I thought it was Halloween Havoc, because I thought that's what was being booked. Because didn't like Sting come out and be like, you have to like beat, people before you face each other? Bullshit.
No, he was supposed Savage. Yeah, that's gonna happen, but that was supposed to be with a Dungeon of Doom guy, and Kurosawa was not one of those guys.
Oh yeah, he's part of the Colonel Parker clan.
Yeah, he's just having a match, and it, this match was like kind of weird. I thought,
Mm-hmm.
like, so it goes in, and it's like Savage's arm is like messed up. Apparently, they don't explain how or why. I'm kind of wondering if he has like a legit arm injury or some shit, like his elbow's messed up.
Mm-hmm.
But and I'm not sure. I didn't really look into it. Uh, he like Kurosawa jump starts it, and he spends like most of the match just kicking the hell out of Macho Man, kicking his legs and kicking his back. Uncle Eric says he's causing his legs to cramp up, which that's true, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And then before like the commercial break, Kurosawa does like a over the shoulder arm snap. You know, when a guy like gets the arm and he goes like over his shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
And that fire, because I like this match has gone a couple minutes. I'm like, so when's he going to work his messed up arm? And then he did. So, right when I said that, okay. They come back from a break. He's still working him over. He dumps Savage out, and he did a baseball slide drop kick earlier. He goes for another one, but then Savage moves out of the way, and Kurosawa, the way he like fell out of the ring, it looked like he botched it, and he flopped out on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
I know he didn't actually botch it. It's just that it was so the whole action was so awkward. It looked like one. Then Savage picks himself up and he's like leaning on the post outside. So Kurosawa goes to him like he's gonna like kick him. Savage dodges, and then he kicks the post. So it's shin damage, like he fucked his leg up. But then
Yep.
that didn't really come into play that much. He didn't really sell it.
Mm-hmm.
He goes in for another arm snap when they get back in the ring, but Savage like grabs onto his head and he does like this little hot shot deal. It's kind of weak looking. And the son of Akira Kurosawa is down. So Savage goes to the top rope and he hits the elbow drop and he pins him. And that's the end of the match. It was like
You think there was a
3
language
minutes.
barrier?
Maybe, because I don't know what the hell the deal with this was. Because it was like, to me, this booking of this match was like weird. It's like Savage spent the entire time getting his ass kicked, and then he hits 2 moves and he beats him. What?
It's like almost a squash in a way.
Yeah, it's like a reverse squash. And then, like, the guy who... Okay, so they hype him up on commentary, too, because apparently this Kurosawa guy broke Road Warrior Hawk's arm. Like, Eric Bischoff talks about it multiple times, and so Heenan mentions it, too, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And he beat Craig Pittman, Sergeant Craig Pittman, the fucking Marine Corps guy who was undefeated. So, what was the point of this match? Like, Savage didn't look strong because he got his ass kicked the whole time, and it looked like he just kind of got lucky and beat him. And then Kurosawa didn't get over because he got beaten 2 moves.
I wonder if like nobody wanted to work with Kurosawa and like Macho Man's like, I'll do it, brother. Like,
probably.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of like working with people, unless he just doesn't fucking like you, he's never been known to be like difficult about it.
And come to think of it, like, besides the Lex Luger shit, what is he really doing besides being like, I don't trust you, yeah, and all that stuff?
I guess he's in the title picture for the world title. I guess that's what he's supposed to be in.
So I guess this is just like a whatever match, essentially. Maybe like a showcase for Kurosawa to make him... Like, think about it. Like, all right, let's talk about the booking. So he beats up the soldier guy. He beats up, Road Warrior Animal. Literally breaks his arm. And, you come in and you're facing Savage without beating him, but he beats him majority of the match, but still loses. So it kind of protects both of them in a way, right?
Sort of, but like nobody got over either.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, I would have made Savage look strong going into the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have booked this match, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Is like, if you want Savage to look strong, book him with somebody else he can beat really fast. It's not going to matter.
Mm-hmm.
If they're trying to get this Kurosawa guy over in the mid-card, which I think they are, I wouldn't have booked him to lose in 2 moves. And booked him against somebody else or not have him have a match right now.
Yeah, he could have did like Disco Inferno.
Sure, he could just beat him. Like, fuck him, Mm-hmm. Like, who cares?
Yeah, he could have came out like, Disco's dancing and shit, and like Kurosawa just like fucking says, "Let's have a match, brother." Well, he doesn't say brother, you know what I mean? And like they have a match, and literally Kurosawa just like does one move and kills Disco, essentially.
Well, after that, oh yeah, what did I score? I gave it a 5.1.
I gave it a straight 5. It wasn't amazing. It wasn't that bad, so it's in the middle of the road for me.
I just gave it a point because Macho Man selling and just being out there. It kind of is what it is.
The macho curve.
It's a little slight one.
Mm-hmm.
I think Eric, Bobby, and Mongo, they're all telling us about stuff that's going on right now. Like Hogan and the Giant are both in the building.
And there's no restraining order.
Yeah, there's no restraining order for some reason. And Pepe's dressed up like a cowboy, by the way.
Yeah.
And Bobby's talking about how some pilot was asking him on an airplane today about Sting and Luger, and is like he's like, "Why are you talking to me? Like, shouldn't you be flying the plane or something?"
Yeah.
And then the lights go out of nowhere. We hear Sullivan, and then you see like in shadow, it's like the camera goes up, and you see like this up on a throne, like in the sky or something, is King Curtis. They're called him the Master, but it's King Curtis.
It's the first live appearance, right? Essentially.
Yeah, he's always been like taped, like it and stuff. He's never really actually been there.
Dude, he looks fucking cool. I will say that, like him on the throne and stuff, and him just screaming. I mean, I know he looks like a fat guy with makeup, but like it's still cool to see that throne and be like, Sullivan.
And he does a promo, and all his promos are always ridiculous, and I love them because it just sound like it's. I said it sounds. He's like the Mako of wrestling. And what I mean by that is like if you watch the Conan movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger in it, the way his speech patterns kind of remind me of that a little bit. Like long ago in the Hyborian days or something, and he's like, "My son, the insurance package has been delivered from Kathmandu to the Himalayas to the north face of Mount Everest." He's talking about ridiculous shit, and he says something about like he references the rare white Bengal tiger, and says he's not surrendered, and like basically it's finally revealed like what that was supposed to be was they're talking about Hogan whenever they say they're talking about the tiger. It never came together until like Kevin Sullivan actually just said it. But yeah, so basically he tells us they dug out the Serpa guides dug out a 13-ton block of ice. And he reveals it. It's like a spotlight goes on this big iceberg, but it's like it looks like a plastic iceberg.
Yeah.
And they got like a fog machine going and shit. And it's like wow,
I will say WCW at least puts a little effort into their like freaky shit, essentially. We're like, you know, I know when we get to the Yeti, it's literally a fucking cheap ass mummy, but they had fucking RoboCop in '92, so that was cool.
They had RoboCop, and you know WWF does it too. Like we saw the Undertaker ascend to heaven, you know, a couple year ago or whatever that was. So, then like, let's see. I think Eric pitches to Gene Okerlund after that, and he's like sounds confused, and he's standing on the floor in front of the iceberg with Kevin Sullivan and the Giant. And then Kevin tells us the Yeti is inside, and then there's no good left in Hogan, and it must come to an end. And then the Giant tells us Hogan is the rare white Bengal tiger. So is the Giant. My bad. He actually just says it. And he's going to destroy Hulkamania and become the true immortal. And he does the Captain Insano laugh again. Like,
he starts doing a bit now, which we will see in Halloween Havoc, where he grabs Gene Okerlund's hand while he has the microphone. And clearly, like, Gene Okerlund is selling it really fucking awesomely, where he's like, ow, while, like, the Giant's talking. Like, I love Gene Okerlund. Mean Gene. We'll never, ever get a person like Mean Gene. I don't think so.
I don't think so. There won't be. There's not. There hasn't been yet. And so far, there hasn't been in recent times a backstage interviewer, an interviewer guy that has the same kind of stage presence and like just ability as him. I think we go to a break, and then we come back from that break, and Okerlund's at the entrance ramp now. He's like,
dude,
all kinds of shit.
I got so annoyed. I'm like, I'm liking the Dungeon of Doom, but then it goes straight to fucking Hogan, and I'm just like, God.
Like, oh. Yeah. So, you know what's funny about it? It sounds like you didn't like this as much, but I actually think this was better than what he did last week. Yeah, Hogan comes out with Jimmy Hart, and at first it seemed like Hogan was going to do another tired Hogan promo, a burned out Hogan promo. But this time I thought he actually did something a little different.
Oh, yeah, but I want to like point out this line before you get into it.
Because I know the one you're talking about.
Because we know what a man with black gloves and a black bandana is capable of. And I'm like, what?
He's talking about OJ, I guess, is what he's supposed to. When he said that, I was like, what? Because, oh my God. But I give him kudos to that. He said something pretty edgy on TV for once. But, yeah, like, after that, he says, like, he's going to beat the Giant and he's going to drag his carcass around on his Harley Davidson until he disintegrates. And then he calls out Lex Luger and Sting and Macho Man. He says they're his so-called friends and they're not really helping him, and they're circling his carcass, waiting for the right time. brother. And he calls them little dogs and tells them to get on the porch because he's the big dog.
He was doing the big. This is my yard now, like Undertaker.
Yeah, like Roman Reigns or something. Yeah, but I was like, I was like, that promo was actually pretty good because he did something different that time.
I mean, I give him that, and it's just weird because he also talks about like they talk about Sting and stuff, and he's like Sting is gonna wear red and yellow tonight, and like he just started like talking shit about all his friends.
Yeah, because he's tired of his friends.
Yeah, but his friends is like the only thing that we're trying to like. Well, I wouldn't say save his life because he broke his neck like 3 times from the giant, but like they're also putting their bodies on the line essentially.
Yeah, but he's turning evil.
Is he though? I mean, he's giving away Harley Davidsons and shit. Like,
yeah, that's yeah. Like the evil is supposed to be progressing, and then it kind of gets ruined on Sunday night.
Yeah.
And then we got a match. You got Dean Malenko and Chris Benoit versus Eddie Guerrero and Mr. JL.
I don't like that name.
Me either. I mean, we was talking about that the first time we saw him. Like, what kind of fucking name is Mr. JL?
Mm.
And I said, like, should have called him like a Power Ranger or some shit, like some kind of name like that.
I guarantee you, Jerry Lynn is like, who was the booker back then?
Virtual reality trooper.
Yeah. Who was the booker back then?
Right now,
maybe Dusty Baby. Like,
no, I think it's Kevin Sullivan actually.
Sullivan. But I guarantee you, like Jerry Lynn came up to Sullivan and he's like, "All right, kid, what is your name?" Since you're in this like VR trooper get up stuff, and he's like, "I'm Jerry Lynn." And he's like, "That sucks." But then he come up with a suckier name, Mr. JL. Like,
so I found out he got that name in Japan when he was working in Japan. So
really?
It's actually whoever's fault that is in Japan that gave him that name.
Fuck you, New Japan. Damn it.
And the fact that he didn't have the wherewithal or he didn't think to try to have a different name or some shit in America was like kind of silly. Mm-hmm. But anyway, Alex Wright is injured, so no dancing right now. He's going out there with crutches with them for some reason.
Uh-huh.
Like,
I don't understand why.
Yeah, I don't know why. Well, they said somebody said something. It was a short line. It was like, oh, he was supposed to be in this match, but Mr. JL's replacing him. It's like, so why is he out there?
Yeah, like, is he just being a team player and he's like, I got to show up for the fans? Which I will give him that if that's the case. But you don't know Eddie. You don't know Mr. JL. Why are you, like, on their side?
Yeah, I don't know either. Like, and plus, why did he come out, like, in his wrestling gear if he's hurt? Like, just come out in fucking street clothes, man. You got to dress up like you're wrestling.
Mm.
It's like Pac whenever he's in those fucking backstage segments with, like, the Boar Horseman or whatever on AEW. He's always in his fucking wrestling gear while they're wearing street clothes.
Man, his hair is always fucking wet. Like, bro, you're not wrestling tonight.
He does it on purpose, like, because he thinks it's funny. I know that's why he does it.
Mm.
To amuse himself.
I think he's the type of guy that like watches Twitter for what people say and go, they don't like that. I'm gonna keep doing it.
He does seem like he's that kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this match starts off fast, and I'm not taking extensive notes for this one because it was too fast, like how I thought it was going to be.
This was too fast for like WCW audience because there were times where they reacted, and there were times they were confused and stun locked.
Yeah, like they were like, whoa. And plus, I think some of the people aren't as over yet either. Like, I think they kind of like Eddie Guerrero because he's kind of flashy.
Uh-huh.
But Dean Malenko is really new, and he's not like a real flashy guy. It's just sometimes he does a cool move.
He always looks like he has to belch on how he stands because he puts his chest out, and he always looks like he's about to like make a big belching sound.
He has indigestion. And then like Mr. JL, that guy is not fucking over at all. Like,
they don't know what the fuck that is.
Nobody gives a shit about him. Like, and so like that, the only guy that has any notoriety right now is like really Chris Benoit. There's another like So they do like it goes a bit awkwardly at first. They do like this weird spot where like Eddie throws JL out onto the floor onto Chris and Dean. Like they all ended up out on the floor. And then there's another odd one where like what does it say?
I'll never forgive the Japanese.
Well, some people still don't. But like they do another odd spot though, where after they all get back in the ring, where Bobby goes like he's talking about how great all these guys are, and he goes, "Watch this!" When like Eddie and JL are doing a double team spot, and it's like Eddie threw him in the air towards I think it was Dean Malenko in the corner, or no, it was Chris in the corner, and Bobby goes like, "Watch this!" Like he's anticipating something incredible is going to happen, and then JL just like headbutts him, and I'm like, "What? What was the point of that?" And I was like, was that how that was supposed to go or not? I was confused.
Maybe he thought, like, because he's seen him. And do you think Bobby Heenan watched Japan wrestling?
Maybe a little bit, probably. He's probably seen some stuff.
Maybe he saw some tapes or whatever, and he's like, watch this. And maybe JL does do other things that are flip-de-do. And he's like, he just did a headbutt.
He might have assumed something really flashy was going to happen, and it didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
Then they do like this split screen deal where they're showing us Scott Norton is in the back fighting the Shark.
Yeah, what?
Because he interrupted that match back in September. Remember?
Oh, yeah.
And they bring that up. I'm like, so a month later, he's pissed about it and has a fucking backstage fight. He had a delayed reaction. And then also he cut his mullet off. How dare him? That mullet was incredible. Then we come back from a commercial break, and the match has gotten a little bit more room to breathe, so it's turning out a little better. Chris does a superplex, and it was awesome because he sold it like he took a bump, because he executed, which you kind of probably should. But the way he sold it was like he hit the back of his head. For all we know, he probably actually did. And he was like, oh, shit. He was like writhing and shit and laying on the mat. And then JL is like, he's gotten his ass kicked pretty much the entire time by both Dean and Chris. Finally, he tags Eddie. And he goes on his big comeback, and he's throwing drop kicks. And he grabs Malenko's hand and does like the wrist lock thing. He grabs the hand, and he gets up on the ropes.
Mm-hmm.
And then he jumps off, and he does like a snapmare head scissors combo to both Dean and Chris. And that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Then he tags JL back in, who's like almost dead. It's like he got his ass kicked almost the whole match. And then Dean manages to stop JL momentarily, and he runs the ropes. But then like Alex Wright trips him when he's running the ropes with his crutches. It's like he sticks his crutches out there, he trips. And then like Eddie and Chris were doing a spot while that was happening at the same time in the corner where they were doing. One was trying to hip toss the other out of the ring, and it didn't work. It's like they got hung up in the ropes or something, and they got kind of stuck there. And eventually, they both just forced each other over.
Mm-hmm.
And then JL hit a victory roll on a Dazed Malenko from that trip, and he got the pin.
It was kind of like a weird match.
There was some botches and weird spots, and I think it was again like another case that everybody's trying to work too fast, probably.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, it kind of recovered in the second half of the match because it didn't get interrupted or something.
Mm-hmm.
I give it a 6.4.
I gave it a 6.1 out of 10. I was like, yeah, it's a little flashy, kind of too flashy for me, and I like that they slowed it down a little bit near the end. And it's so weird seeing Eddie wrestle as a face and not do anything like, because he's not to the light sheet and steel area yet, but it's just so weird seeing his face work.
Young baby face Eddie.
Mm-hmm.
Because even when he was a heel in ECW, he still didn't really do stuff like that.
Uh-uh.
I mean, I guess he was a babyface, but sometimes he was heelish.
Well, the thing when Eddie gets heel, he he does like the respect wrestle thing where he's like, I'm gonna beat your ass. But then he'll like do some heel tactics where he like, does things behind the referee, essentially.
Or he pulls the tights or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Brian Pillman attacks Guerrero and gives him a DDT in the aisle.
Yeah, as they're all leaving, that happens. And then Brian's like throwing up the four horseman thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, why did he do that? It just happened out of nowhere. I was like, are they setting up a match between those guys? I hope so.
That'd be cool.
Like, otherwise, that was just kind of like a random wild attack.
Mm.
And then that was it. That was it for that segment.
Then we got Sting and Lex Luger versus Harlem Heat with Sister Sherry. So I guess they're still teaming up.
You mean Harlem Heat or Sting and Luger?
Sting and Luger.
Yeah, well, they're still friends.
I guess, right?
Yeah, that's never been a dispute other than that really weird confrontation that Sting set up.
Uh-huh.
Where he thought he was helping them. And now in retrospect, he didn't help anybody.
Yeah.
Like now that we know what we know. Is Sting in on it? But no, yeah, during the entrance when Harlem Heat's coming out, they show some guys in the crowd that have painted the letters WCW and TNT over their faces. It's like 6 guys, and I'm like, those guys have to be plants or something. Who would do that? Like at this point in time right now.
Yeah, it's like, who would put a network on their face?
Yeah, the network thing made me really question it. It's like, TNT fucking rules. Like, what? Look how they got like Monster Vision and something dinner in a movie or whatever. But like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Eric and Mongo are talking shit about In Your House 4 while they're coming out, and quite frankly, I don't blame them this time for talking shit. I can't blame them for it because it was kind of like not a good show.
Mm-hmm.
It's fine.
Calling it. Did you hear fucking Mongo say calling it In Your Outhouse?
Yeah, In Your Outhouse, kind of. And then Sting comes out, and then like Hogan made some kind of comment about Sting stealing his collars, and yeah, he's wearing red and yellow today. And then he also has like a weird little goatee just for tonight because he shaves it on Sunday. It's gone by then.
Maybe just grew in and he was like, fuck, whatever.
I'm going to try something different. And then he did it, and then probably everybody made fun of him, and he was like, you know what, I'm going to shave his shit off. He always looks weird with facial hair unless he has like that weird soul patch thing he did, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And he integrated it into his face paint. That kind of worked.
Yeah.
But then whenever Sting does like, remember when he was in Wolfpack and he was like Lobster Sting?
Yeah.
Because he was like, it looks like a lobster on his outfit now instead of Scorpion. And he had like this goatee, and it was like he didn't dye it. It's because his hair is kind of a dark brown. That's his natural hair color. So it looked like shit. Sting was wearing like bright red face paint, and he had like a goatee, and it looked awful.
I still think like when he became Wolfpack Sting, I think he just like gave up essentially.
I think he was kind of checked out a little bit there, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because like that's after the fucking the Starcade thing, and he kind of had another year to maybe see. Okay, maybe they'll, maybe it'll work out in the end, and it never really did.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Sting's trying to leech off the latent power of Hulkamania right now. He's trying to absorb it a little bit. But
it's not going to work Sunday, I tell you what.
No, it does not. They get at it. Sting and Booker do a quadruple hip toss reverse where Sting throws Booker out of the ring. That was kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then Sting gets back inside the ring. He does a big old backdrop. He tags in Luger. He does axe handle from the top rope, and we go to a break. Stevie Ray comes out, and him and Booker are basically working over Luger after we come back. And then, like, we see Sherry out there on the floor. and she starts like unzipping her skirt, and she's like, pulling out like Polaroid photos and looking at him, and it's like of her and Robert Parker, and she's kissing him. I'm like, man, they're still doing this shit. Why? Like,
yeah, I messaged you and I was like, this is kind of weird.
yeah, could I wish that was over. It will be soon, I guess. Booker hits a scissors kick and a sidewalk slam, but he gets two. That was cool.
Mm-hmm.
Then he tries to do the Harlem Hangover, I think, shortly after that, and he misses. So Luger tags Sting. Sting fires up, hits some clotheslines, Stinger splash on both guys. He hits a drop kick on Booker and he puts him in the deathlock, Scorpion deathlock. But Stevie Ray hits him with a thrust kick, so Luger comes in and he starts punching him to stop him. Booker recovers. They hit a double suplex on Luger, but they forgot about Sting, who climbed the top rope. So, like, Booker's turning around, and he eats a top rope clothesline from Sting, and Stevie's too busy stomping a mud hole at Lex in the corner. He's not paying attention. Sting pins Booker off that clothesline. I was like, oh, well, that was all right. That was a cool little finish.
Mm-hmm. It wasn't offending at all. It was just like, an up and comer of a tag team, Harlem Heat versus two veterans essentially, and I think Harlem Heat did a good job.
Yeah,
in my opinion,
it was a good little match. Kind of highlights them a little bit, even though they lost, because they're fighting guys that are like main eventers.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're a tag team, and they're still kind of getting over right now. But they're not going to beat them.
No.
I give it a 5.9.
I was a little more generous. I gave it a 6.4.
Oh.
I've been kind of like very critical of Sting matches. And I was like, I enjoyed this Sting match. Maybe because he was teamed up with Lex, voice, guy who screams out, every time he gets hit. He did less of it in this one, it seemed like.
He didn't do it as much, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't dislike it. It's just like I thought it was all right,
Mm-hmm.
Nothing offensive happened. It was almost decent to me. I think right after this match ends, Kevin Sullivan and the Giant rush the ring, and Giant chokeslams Lex and Sting.
I actually hated this segment.
You did? Okay. Why though?
I know what it's doing. It's like showing. It's a go home show to Halloween Havoc, so we're gonna be like, these are the men that are gonna be fighting for their lives, essentially. Macho showed up, to go against the Giant, to help out Hulk Hogan, essentially. You have Sting there, who's gonna be part of it, kinda. He's been in the mix and all that stuff. And then Lex obviously is going to be part of something, which we'll get into on the, Halloween Havoc. And then, the Dungeon of Doom, Kevin Sullivan, the Giant. And you have Hulk Hogan come out and he's facing off with the Giant. And he like shoots all his friends away. It's like, why couldn't you do the restraining order this Nitro to kind of like get people hyped up for Halloween Havoc when they finally do get in the ring, essentially, and touch each other? You know what I mean?
Because he has to show him he's not afraid of him.
It's that whole Hulk Hogan bullshit, like that superhero bullshit. You're trying to be evil. You're trying to, like every time when John Cena or Roman Reigns do something out of the ordinary as a face, and then Michael Cole is usually like, it's a different side of Cena, or like Roman Reigns.
Yeah, this is supposed to be a different side of Hogan, but that's kind of where it's like his portrayal of this is like really inconsistent. I think it's just because Hogan
sucks at acting.
He's sort of, and then like he's also still afraid to act heelish enough. Like, because remember he doesn't tell it that way, but he had a lot of trepidation about turning heel. He was afraid.
I'm afraid, brother. I don't want to lose my Hulkamaniacs, even though they're fucking booing you.
I don't want to lose my merchandise, brother.
That's what he actually cares about.
But so yeah, like all his the rest of his friends come out because Sting's supposed to still be friends with like Savage and Hogan. And Savage tries to come out and help, but he just kind of stalls for a bit until Hogan comes out.
Mm-hmm.
And then Savage is like, I got your back, brother. And Hogan's like, get out of here, brother. And then, yeah. So then Hogan and Giant are there to load, and he throws some punches, and Giant no-sells him, and he just clubs him in the back.
Mm.
Hogan gets up, he hulks up, he hits Giant with some punches, he runs his head in the turnbuckle, and then the entire Dungeon of Doom comes out, and all the baby faces get back in the ring and run them off.
Mm.
And then this loud rumbling starts playing over the PA system, and the arena lights are flickering. And Eric Bischoff's like, what's going on? And then like the camera cuts over to the ice block and it like explodes.
Mm.
And it's the Yeti. He's like, and like the show ends like right there when he comes out of the ice block. That part was great.
Yeah. It was very funny.
It's perfect ending because people at home don't get to see the Yeti do anything. They just see he has emerged.
Did you get the rating on this one?
The TV rating?
Yeah.
Yeah, they got a 2.6 this time. Which is like better, yeah.
It's been better, yeah, indeed.
Because last show was better than the one before it, so it happened. People were like, that show was better.
Mm-hmm.
I thought Hogan sort of redeemed himself a little bit with the promo, but then like, yeah, he's doing the superhero shit later.
Mm-hmm.
We had a decent match, and then an okay one, and then like a disappointing weird one. And I think a lot of the Dungeon of Doom insanity kind of helped this show.
Yeah.
Like the promo with the Master and Kevin Sullivan and the Giant explaining their weird vocabulary. And then like the Yeti emerging from the ice block.
Mm-hmm.
I give a show a 6.
Well, I was a little more generous, probably because of the Dungeon Doom bullshit. So I gave it a 6.3 out of 10.
I mean, we're in a range. We're not far off.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was like enjoyable enough.
Here's what I'll say, because I'm on Nitro Mark. It's like they're doing like better than what they were doing before. Remember, because before we were just like, this is stupid with their booking.
You mean like back in last year?
Yeah.
Yeah. Where we actually like quit watching.
Mm-hmm. And even though it's like mediocre booking at the moment, I'm still enjoying what they're like putting on.
This is better than what they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
And it sucked just because it's like, it's weird because they had a lot of guys that last year that were like really good that were still in the company.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like we had Dustin and Paul Orndorff was still there. And Paul Orndorff's still here now, but it seems like they're not really using him that much anymore.
You had Steamboat as well, too.
Steamboat was still there until he got injured.
Mm-hmm.
And then like Vader was still there. Like Vader's gone now.
Yeah.
But like you had all those, you had a good roster. It's just like the booking was just not good.
Yeah. But that's Nitro for you. So let's move on to the other company, WWF, Monday Night Raw. From Keystone Center in Brandon, Manitoba.
Yeah. I've never heard of that. Brandon, Manitoba.
Yeah, me either.
They replaced the Raw song, the intro. They had that kind of a cool like rock song.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's like this weird lame ass beat. It seems like it should be like a theme for like a fat guy that's coming out or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like Otis or something.
Speaking of fat people, there's a main event that we'll talk about. So yeah, Vince McMahon and Jerry the King Lawler are back on commentary. They explain that tonight Alundra Blaze defends WWF Women's title against Bertha Faye or Big Bertha.
Alundra Braze.
Alunda Braze. That's her cousin. And right away, there's 20 men in the fucking the ring, the battle royale, to see who's gonna have a shot at the Intercontinental title. Which they did like give a couple of like entrances. They had like Psycho Sid, show up, and then who was the other one?
Marty Jannetty got one.
Dude, like number one, I gotta say this because they did like a little vignette promos while the entrances were happening. And they did one with Psycho Sid, where Psycho Sid's doing like this very Jake the Snake type of promos, and I love that he whispers, but there's times where he just mumbles his words, and I think that's him just trying to figure out how to string a sentence along. But I enjoyed his promo. And then Marty did a great one. He's still over with the fans. It's so weird.
He is, and then sometimes he isn't. It's weird right now. Like, because I noticed it sometimes. Like, he was over here, but like at the In Your House, it's like he wasn't over.
Uh-huh.
It was weird. I think maybe it was Goldust just fucked with everybody.
Yeah. Marty's was just like very, babyface-esque. He's like, it's my time to shine, Intercontinental Champion, and all that stuff. And Psycho Sid's like he's gonna destroy everybody to get that shot.
He did a good Sid promo. That's the thing about Sid's promos is like it feels like 2/3 of the time he'll do a good one, and then that 1/3 he'll fuck it up or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's like either way, you care about what he's saying, even if he says shit like "I have half the brains you do" and shit like that.
And then Kevin Nash is like, "Yeah, you're right."
Fucking Scott Hall was like cracking up like for real.
And it's funny. Like I think a lot of wrestlers wouldn't even like listen to what he says. They would just usually have their line that they would say next because usually they would talk about, what they're talking about. But like Kevin Nash, I feel like listens to every word someone says and has like those lines where he's like, "Yeah, you're right. You do have half a brain than I do."
You come out here every week and you make me look like a jackass. It's funny.
I'll quickly name the people that were in the 20-man. Yeah, Bam Bam Bigelow, 1-2-3 Kid, Bob Holly, King Kong Bundy, Hunter Hearst Helmsley, Henry Godwin, Skip, Duke the Dumpster Jersey, Barry Horowitz, Aldo Montoya, Marty Jannetty, Rad Radford, John Pierre Lafitte, Savio Vega, Hakushi, Owen Hart, Fatu, Psycho Sid, and Isaac Yankem.
Did you get Bob Holly?
Yeah.
Okay. Don't forget Sparkplug.
Mm-hmm.
This is hard to cover because it's just a battle royal and all the guys are in there right now.
Yep.
So I didn't write much until like the ring started really getting cleared. Like thankfully they do it quick because we go to a commercial break and we come back and there's like 7 guys in the ring. Yeah. It's like Owen, Yankem, Savio, Bam Bam, Lafitte, Marty, and Sid. And Yankem and Sid get eliminated pretty quick. And then we go to another break and come back. And then now we're down to Lafitte, Owen, Savio, and Marty this time. And Marty eliminates Savio and Lafitte, so then it just turns into Owen and Marty.
Mm-hmm.
And Marty beats on Owen. He tries to eliminate him for a while, and they do this spot where like Owen's hanging onto the ropes outside on the apron, and Marty's like punching him. And it's like every time he has to punch him like 2 or 3 times, and he's like progressively like, hanging off the ropes more. And he slips down to the next rope, and he has to do it like 3 more times, like it's a video game or some shit.
Yeah,
it's just funny.
It was very Looney Tunes.
Owen also did this wild bump that I don't think he meant to do. Where like I think Marty tried to hip toss him, and like Owen got tangled up in the ropes or some shit. He like hit the ropes, and he fell, and it looked like a damn 2K glitch. when it happened. Like Owen's leg got caught in the fucking rope, and I don't know how he didn't tear anything in his knee when it happened. It was wild. Then like after Owen gets back in the ring after that, like Marty has Owen in a headlock, but Owen flings him through the ropes, like through the middle, and Owen thinks he won, but he didn't win. So Cornette tries to sneak attack Marty, but he gets caught in the act. He's like, "Oh God!" And he falls on the fucking floor and everything. And Marty starts chasing Cornette around the ring until Bulldog comes out and he beats up Marty, throws him into the stairs, and then he throws him into the ring. And then Owen throws Marty out after they do like shoulder blocks, and Owen wins.
Yeah. It was very, even at the end, Marty almost like, almost woke up and came back, but then like Owen just took him out.
They were cheering for him too. But Marty was just dead. It was funny because after he got thrown out, he just laid there face first on the floor, didn't move. It was like he died.
He sold good.
They do another break and then come back, and then King's interviewing Owen with Cornette standing there too. And Owen's like, "I did it. I beat every man in the WWF. I'm the cream of the crop." And he's like, next week we're going to find out who the real bad guy is, and he steals Brett's line. He's the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be.
I love that I love that he's putting that into his brother's space still.
He stole Razor's line and he stole Brett's line.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, cool. That's a good. I want to see Owen versus Razor. I haven't seen that.
And back they went to break after that. And they showed Bulldog beating up. Oh no, I'm sorry. My notes is all over the place.
I think there was a spazzy Doc Hendricks segment.
Yeah. When they it says with Doc Hendricks, there's all of the wild card Survivor Series, that weird team that's happening.
Wild card team.
Yeah, Shawn Michaels, Sid Vicious, British Bulldog, Ahmed Johnson are all on one team versus Dean Douglas, which I don't think that's going to happen, by the way. I think that's going to change. Dean Douglas, Yokozuna, Owen Hart, and Razor Ramon.
Razor stuck with a bunch of heels. Shawn stuck with like 2 heels, one guy that fucking hates him and Sid, and Ahmed Johnson, who nobody knows anything about.
Yep. Then Slam Jam is then interrupted when we cut to the arena and see Bob Backlund fucking campaigning in the crowd.
He's just out there aggravating fans. It's funny because Doc's like, "There's something happening in the arena." Like something's happening. Like the Dungeon of Doom's trying to run over somebody with a monster truck or something. No, just Bob Backlund's out there like walking around.
I imagine that's just Bob Backlund being Bob Backlund, and like one of the producers like, we gotta get camera on that or something. And like Doc Hendrick, that's what he did. Is like, "What's happening over there, Vince?" And Vince's like, "Huh? Oh, looks like he's campaigning or something.
He's gonna run for president."
Then we go the promo with Ahmed Johnson. He tells Shawn, "Don't even sweat it, G." As
I got your back.
Yeah. And
this is a cool guy. We know this.
He said, however, he warns Sid and Bulldog if they cross him, will show them the true meaning of true evil. And I was like, that's fucking cool. I was like, if I was a young kid and I heard him say that, I'd be like, fuck yeah.
I thought he said medieval.
Yeah, medieval, yes.
Which is still cool. But like, see, you see what I'm saying? Like when I saw Ahmed when I was a kid, I was like, this guy is fucking cool.
Mm-hmm.
He's like talking like rappers, and he's like saying he's gonna get medieval on somebody. Yeah. Like, oh man, this is gonna be my guy. And I saw him wrestle, and I was like, this guy fucking rules. And I didn't realize he was like almost killing everybody.
He was like Black Goldberg.
Yeah, he was Soberg.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's it, right? It ended with the Ahmed.
That ends the Slam Jam segment. Then it goes into Avatar versus I couldn't quite get this guy's last name. Is it Brian Walsh?
Uh-huh.
Okay, because it sounded like Vince was saying Brian Ross a couple times.
I think he just didn't fucking care.
He didn't know. He's probably saying whatever. So
Mhm.
Avatar is Al Snow.
Yep. And he looks miserable as fuck.
I think he looks miserable because that's what he was instructed to do. But like, there's a story behind this gimmick a little bit. So like this is Al Snow's debut on WWE TV, and I think before this he was in ECW for like a minute. But they came up with this Avatar character. I don't know if it was Vince's idea or something. Probably it was.
Mhm.
And I think the idea was he's this guy who, when he puts on this mask, it's like he takes on a persona, or it's like a superhero Power Ranger thing. And all of a sudden he's like a master martial artist. And when he takes the mask off, he's not Avatar anymore. That's how that's supposed to work. Kind of a neat idea in theory, I think. Like, especially for like kids or something. He's like, dude, Avatar. Like, on paper, that sounds like a pretty good idea for a gimmick.
Yeah.
But he comes out, and there's just like no reaction to Al Snow as Avatar. It's like the crowd is just completely dead.
Super dead.
It was so quiet. You can hear, like as Cornette says, you hear a mouse pissing on cotton in there. It's just goddamn. But there's a story behind this match and how it kind of killed Al Snow's career in WWF for a while. So he came out, there's no crowd reaction, and then on top of that, like they're botching in this match.
Mm.
Like Al Snow tried to do this, he jumped up on the turnbuckle and tried to do like a cross body out in the floor, but he like lost his balance and had to fall off, and then he just jumped over the ropes instead, doing like a dive.
Yeah.
And I could tell Vince was getting frustrated on commentary after I know this story. And then there was a spot in the corner where it looked like Walsh was confused about what to do, because they just kind of stop in the corner and do nothing for like 5 seconds. There's like no movement at all going on.
Mm.
And it's like he just froze up. But he whips him out of there, and they do something. I don't remember what they do. It's not really important. Avatar beats him with a standing moonsault, and then he stands on top of the guy, and he does a splash, and he pins him.
It's so lame.
Kind of a lame finish, yeah. Like Vince saw this match, and he thought that Al Snow sucked or something. It pissed him off that he fucked his match up or some shit. He just lost faith in him. So it kind of like killed Al Snow for a little while. It was funny because Cornette liked Al Snow. I think he might have worked in Smoky Mountain a little bit, if I remember right.
I think we saw an ECW match with him, right?
We did, yeah. Al Snow fought. I forgot who it was. It was a pretty good match too. I want to say it was like Chris Benoit or something.
Either that or Lance Storm, maybe.
No, Lance Storm's not there yet. He was. Yeah, I don't know what he's doing right now, but he's not there. But yeah, like Cornette would always go to bat for Al. And like whenever they were coming up with like lower card stuff, like we need to put this guy in a match, Cornette would go, "How about Avatar?" And like apparently Bruce Pritchard always made fun of him for that. Like because since Vince doesn't like Avatar, Bruce Pritchard doesn't like Avatar, because that's how Bruce thinks. So they basically made a meme where it's like when they think of like Vince eventually, or Cornette quit pitching for Al Snow after a while because they always shot it down.
Mm-hmm.
So when it was like, we need a guy in this match, Bruce Pritchard would go, out, Avatar, like he was making fun of Cornette. And it was just like, fucking goober. Trying to help a guy out, you just don't making fun of him. Come on.
It angers me that Bruce Pritchard is still in that company.
Yeah, he should honestly go away. That's like the last vestige of like Vince's line of thinking that's like left in that company, really.
Mm-hmm. But I guess if he wants to get paid, he has to say yes to Triple H. So
Showcase.
Yes. showcase. I didn't even rank it.
It wasn't a particularly good one, though.
Yeah, it was terrible.
Dudinsky.
Barry Dudinsky is in the back, and he's shilling the Shawn Michaels and Brett stand-ups. And I was like, wow, this is even worse than what Doc Hendricks fucking pitched at.
I thought it was less creepy, at least.
Yeah.
He did it in a less disturbing manner.
Mm-hmm. Blaze is throwing kicks backstage as prepare for the title defense.
They told us we're going to get Goldust and Savio Vega next Raw, too.
Mm.
If I remember right, this is the match where Goldust kind of clicks. I think. It's either this or it's a different Savio Vega match. I remember hearing that.
Where did I see? Maybe I. Oh no! I think I went a little ahead because I was like, doesn't Goldust give like a golden letter to like Razor Ramon? And I think that's later.
That's like in December. Like that's the feud they're setting up for him, like his first one, really.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, oh, we already talked about that.
It's the main event.
Yes, it is Alundra Blaze versus Bertha Faye with Harvey Whippleman, because Harvey Whippleman loves fat chicks. I do want to point this out. Big Bertha has a knockoff Eagles song as her entrance.
Is that what that's supposed to be?
I guess so.
Like, does it sound like an Eagles song to you or something?
Yeah, it does a little bit.
I guess I kind of see what you're saying, like one of those slower ones.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't really thinking about that at the time. I just thought it was hilarious. Like, I just thought it was a good song, actually, for, like, that character.
Mm-hmm. Again, we haven't seen a lot of women's matches. So, all I know, we saw, like, one Alundra Blaze match, and, you know, she did really well against
SummerSlam.
Yeah, against that Japanese wrestler, right?
Yeah. Oh, man. I forgot her name. Bull Nakano.
There you go.
Yeah, that was last year when that happened. But, like, the last time we saw her was, like, at SummerSlam with Bertha Faye, actually, where she beat her.
Mm.
Because I was like, where have they been, actually? Because we've been watching all the Raws and shit. I guess they've just been on Superstars or something. Because we don't watch that.
Yeah. So I was just kind of lost and just, like, chilling and watching them, you know, go. So what is your play-by-play on this one?
Not a whole lot. It was okay. Like, I thought this was okay. Bertha Faye pretty much overpowers Blaze most of this match, even after a break. You can imagine what that looks like. Because it's this big fat chick versus, like, a little girl.
Uh-huh.
I mean, Alundra Blaze, for a girl, Alundra Blaze actually isn't small, but in comparison, yeah. Then after a break, Alundra starts a comeback, and she hits some running hair pull slams, and then she tries to do like a power bomb for some reason, or like a power driver or something, and it just doesn't work, and she gets backdropped.
Why do I mean, I guess they do it for the crowd reaction and be like, oh my god, they're gonna do a power slam or a power bomb, and it's always like someone that is like way too bigger than they are.
It's like a hope spot, basically.
Yeah,
it's like it makes the crowd, oh my god, they're gonna do, because sometimes it does actually happen.
Uh-huh.
But like, and I don't doubt that they could probably do that spot, but the plan was to not do it. So, after that, Bertha starts climbing the ropes. She does it kind of slow. And then Alundra gets up and does the head scissors Sonya Blade move from Mortal Kombat that Trish Stratus also does later.
Yeah.
That was cool. I was like, oh, maybe that's where she got that, because I don't remember Alundra Blaze doing that.
Uh-huh.
As she's recovered and pulling herself up on the ropes, like Alundra Blaze is, Harvey Whippleman grabs her so Bertha Faye can get a free hit in, and this is like, dastardly because it's a male manager. He's holding a woman, even though he's like a tiny little guy.
If it was a bigger guy, I'd be like, oh god. But it's Harvey Whippleman, so it's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. It's fine. She charges, and then Blaze ducks out of the way, and Whippleman just gets launched into the barricade.
Yeah.
And then Blaze hits a bridging German suplex and pins her for 3. New champ.
The crowd did pop, which was weird.
They were popping for, like, I think Alundra Blaze is over. It's just like, I don't, like, the landscape for women's wrestlers is, like, really sparse, at that time.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, who do you bring in? It's like they had to resort to bringing in a bunch of Japanese girls at some point because it's like, where are the women learning how to wrestle right now in North America?
Yeah. But you know what? Like, Bertha Faye, like, I
think she's actually pretty good. It's just
she's good. I wrote in my notes, I was like, wow, she's like a fat Bailey. Because her getup is very like hug me Bailey.
It's supposed to be cute, but it's like it's a whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
She acts cute, but it's like what's cute about her really? It's like a whole gimmick.
Yeah. What'd you give it?
I gave it a 5.6.
Yep, I gave it a 5.7 out of 10. So we're close. It was enjoyable.
Yeah, it was fine.
We had a rundown for next week's show, and then good old JR sits down with Sean, and Sean looks like so sad.
He looks so disheveled and shit. Yeah. He's just like, his hair just looks kind of like whatever, and he looks like he hasn't slept, and like his eyes still kind of like got blood in it a little bit. And he's got like the stubbles coming in pretty heavy.
Yep.
And like Sean says, getting beat up by 9 guys is no big deal. That kind of thing just happens to him. But having to give up his IC title was the most painful thing he ever had to do. I think JR tells him about the Survivor Series tag deal, the wild card match.
Uh-huh.
And Sean's like, well, they may as well pair me up with my buddies in Syracuse, which I thought was kind of funny. And then JR asks, when can everyone expect Sean back in the ring? And he's like, it all depends on what the doctors say about my brain, which has never been great to begin with.
And it's so funny because I was like, oh, he'll be back next week.
Because and then he gets concussed like immediately.
Yeah.
But like, oh, go ahead.
Because I was gonna say like, because back then they didn't care, and that's what happened to Chris Benoit.
I mean, they're giving him time off, I guess, to get over it.
Uh-huh.
But then HBK says he's got 2 choices: be a pain in the butt to everybody in the WWF, or go home and cry. And I'm all cried out. The era of sad Sean is here. It's what we're in right now.
Sad Sean is not yet close to losing his smile, but he's almost there.
They cut back to Vince and Lawler, and like Lawler's making fun of Sean by like doing like these cry faces, and he's making like these hilarious faces, like he just enjoys that he's like in so much misery.
Yeah.
It was great, honestly.
What'd you get this whole show?
So, yeah, I want to say a few things about it. Like, I didn't think this Raw was that good. Because like a battle royal took up half the show. And honestly, it was like full of a bunch of like, it's for a mid-card title, but it featured like a lot of mid-card guys that aren't like, I don't know, like a lot of them are like, like who cares? I did like the result of it with Owen winning it and getting an IC title shot. I just don't like battle royals that much.
I only like Royal Rumbles because of the entrance and stuff.
There's more story that happens in that match too.
Yeah, and battle royales are just like everybody's in the ring and they're just like hugging each other until the final 4, and that's when people really wrestle, essentially.
It's just a clusterfuck because like in a Royal Rumble, it's like separated by time, so like you can have like little tiny matches and spots in between people coming out, and then you got like things that happen, like some guy comes in and fucking throws out like 5 guys and just destroys the field or something. You know, that doesn't happen in a battle royal. It's just a fucking mess, and then there's 2 guys in it that you might want to win, and then one of them wins.
I also think Vince was like hoping Avatar would be a big thing for kids, and it wasn't.
No. He gave up like the first night though, which is like now he's like overreacting, I think. Because we know Al Snow's like pretty good. It's just like he fucked up a move, and then the guy he was in the ring with was probably like some guy that didn't have a whole lot of experience, and he froze up in the ring or some shit.
Yep.
So it's like, oh, it's Al Snow's fault.
And this is coming up with Vince being pissed off about In Your House.
Being pissed off about Diesel and just basically getting ready to give up on Diesel.
So he's on a warpath.
Yeah, he's on a goddamn it path.
Yep.
That they said we were gonna. So they're talking. Something got brought up during the show where they said we were going to hear more about Diesel and Brett, and that never really happened, other than like confirmation that they're having a match at Survivor Series, which we already knew that before. We knew that was going to happen like a week or 2 ago. Jerry Lawler alluded some comments Diesel made about Brett. We never heard what they were. So it's like, what was that? Did he just tease something and then like there's nothing, no interview at all?
So I think they're probably just like getting ready. Like they're trying to find how they're going to book this match, because essentially Diesel was a face and now he's what, kind of heelish because he's been like a dick to Brett. Is Brett the heel? Like sticking his nose where he shouldn't be?
So Diesel's still a babyface right now, but it's like when that happens, like what you're talking about, it actually happens at Survivor Series.
Okay.
Because like I think in the match, Diesel starts getting booed because it's Bret Hart, and Diesel's push is kind of like disintegrated over the course of the year.
This is where I think like agitated, sick of everybody Bret Hart gimmick starts to like blossom a little bit, because he gets the belt from Diesel, if I'm correct, and then he loses it to either Sid or Taker at some point. And that's where like Austin starts to get in the mix a little bit, where he's like, he's like, everybody's costing me shit, and he gets all annoyed at like upper management more than himself.
I'm not sure about this. So like one of 2 things either happens. Brett wins the title from Diesel at Survivor Series coming up, and I don't remember if he keeps it all the way to WrestleMania, where we know he loses it, or if he loses it again before WrestleMania and he gets it back. One of those 2 things happens. I can't remember which it is. He might lose it. I think I want to say Diesel wins it back, and then like he loses it again. Diesel does.
Yeah.
But I don't remember it very well, and I'm not looking ahead. I also think booking a women's title match to close this show, in terms of like what's going on this show, wasn't really the best idea. Like they're still in Canada. Why wasn't Bret Hart on this fucking Raw? What? Like Owen was in a match and he won something, but Owen's a heel. Nothing happened that really pissed me off of this show, or that was like outright terrible. Like the Avatar match wasn't that good, but like I've seen worse shit happen.
Yeah.
It just felt like it was a nothing show, almost like just.
Yeah, it's like all our stars are busy, so let's put out Bertha and Alundra.
We can't put Bret Hart on a show in Canada on television for some reason.
Yep.
I don't understand that. Like there's a pay-per-view with him, he's not on it. And there's Raw, and still in Canada, he's not on it either at all.
I wonder if Vince is just like tired of Brett, or starting to get tired of his toy, essentially. And it's Shawn Michaels getting beat up by one Marine, like really hindered on Vince's plans at this moment.
Maybe, like, I don't know if his plan was to have Shawn. I mean, it's not that time yet because Shawn was IC champ. He was still supposed to be, I think.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know what was going to happen with that. I still kind of think maybe he was supposed to go into another match with Razor, like Razor Shawn 3.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe they were going to do something like Owen Hart versus Shawn, because Owen's not really had any IC title matches that much. I don't know. I gave us a 4.9.
Yeah, I gave it a 4.7 out of 10. Wasn't entertained. I was more entertained by Nitro than this.
Same here.
Mm-hmm.
This show got a 2.2 rating.
Ooh.
So, yeah.
They lost this Monday night.
They did. Now we're going to lose our minds.
WCW Halloween Havoc 1995. We have Tony Schiavone and Bobby Heenan on commentary, which was like, oh, we're back to this. That's cool.
Back to the 2-man booth.
Yep. And it's so funny because Tony Schiavone always laughs at fucking Bobby Heenan's jokes, but like also plays it off like he hates what Bobby Heenan said.
Yeah, like he gets pissed at him sometimes, which he does later.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's funny. Something struck me when I was watching the intro to this pay-per-view. And it was that thing that everybody says about WWF and their like production is like world-class and everything. And WCW is still behind.
Uh-huh.
And it really came across in the intro for this show. It looks so weird and cheap. Like all the effects and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I was just like this is off. I mean, this is obviously way better than like anything ECW does and shit like that. But they have like no budget, you know. WCW is like a Turner like affiliate. Like they have a fuck ton of money. It's like, why is their video production still look so fucking second rate? It's weird.
They're learning. They're trying to get their footing.
I guess they just don't have a guy that's as good as the guy in WWF or like that team or something.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only thing I can think of. They got the money.
Yep.
Let's see here. Oh, they tell us Ric Flair was attacked backstage before the show starts. Really?
Sure, he was.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
They're trying to get updates on his condition, and then they show us Hogan and the Giant are like warming up their monster trucks.
Yeah.
Which is they're just like revving it up and shit and kind of driving it. And then we get DDP, a recap of DDP and Johnny B. Bad's feud, which they showed us the full context of that clip where you remembered like randomly last episode that he punched DDP or something. You couldn't remember who it was though.
Yeah.
And now that we got the full context, it's like, oh, that was actually kind of clever what they did there. So the way they set up this whole feud is Johnny B. Bad got a U.S. title shot when he had that really awesome match with Brian Pillman.
Mm-hmm.
And he beat him. And then, like, on Saturday night, he was supposed to have that match with Sting, but he didn't show up. So Brian Pillman came out and just took the match. He obviously didn't win it. But, like, later on, he showed up after the match was over, and he was talking to Gene Okerlund, and he was, like, his face was, like, covered in, like, soot, and he looked kind of dirty.
Yeah.
And he was like, can you believe it? I had a flat tire on tonight of all nights. And he was just like, man. And then like DDP came out with his crew and he was making fun of him. He's like, how could you screw this up? Like, you know, for the US title, I would have been here no matter what. But he was just making fun of him basically.
Yeah.
And then he was like, what do you think, Max? And then like that Max Muscle, that big guy that's part of his group, he's just like, yeah, it's pretty funny that he got 4 flat tires. DDP was like, he made like this face.
And Johnny B. Bad was like, how do you know it's 4 tires?
I only said 1 flat tire. How do you know it was 4? And he just punched him right in the face. It was actually kind of funny.
Yeah, I liked it.
That's this whole feud basically. It was like the nucleus of it was like right there.
Mm.
So that's the opening match.
Yep, we have opening match DDP with Max Muscle and Diamond Doll versus Johnny B. Bad, and Diamond Doll like hates fucking DDP.
It's the Macho Man Elizabeth thing again.
Yep. It's like
Max Muscle's there too.
Yeah.
And this is for the WCW TV title.
Indeed.
DDP comes out first, and then when Johnny B. Bad's coming out, it turns out that's not the real Johnny B. Bad. It's some guy in his robe or something. And then like he's behind DDP and he attacks him. And that starts the match.
Yep.
And like Bad's fired up, he knocks DDP out of the ring, and Max Muscle tries to interfere, but Bad punches out both guys and does like a double coconut thing, like knocks their heads together.
Mm-hmm.
Then Bad starts to throw DDP over the security rail, like both sides, and he puts a bucket on his head and then like runs him into the post. It kind of reminded me of like a video game or something.
Uh-huh.
And then after that, Bad gets Page back in the ring and he does a hip toss. He gets 2 count. And from there, they do this funny spot where like DDP's got Bad in an arm lock, and he keeps kipping up, like he keeps pulling on Bad's hair and knocking him down.
Mm-hmm.
He keeps getting back up, and then eventually Bad reverses it, and he starts just pulling on DDP's hair. And then Nick Patrick's like, "Are you pulling his hair?" And he's like, "You mean like this?" And he just blatantly pulls his hair. I was like, "That's pretty." And DDP's like crying and shit. He's like, "He's pulling my hair! Stop!"
And then like DDP like touched Nick Patrick's fucking shirt and stuff, and he's like, "Don't touch my shirt."
DDP gets control back. He hits like a back suplex out of the corner, and he does a pancake, which is like that movie does where it looks like he's going to do a power driver, but he just falls forward.
Yeah.
It's like he's like the only guy I've seen ever do that.
Mm-hmm.
Then he asks Diamond Doll to throw up a 10, and then she's like, okay. She kind of like gets the 10 sign, but she's like half-heartedly does it.
Yeah.
Johnny's able to fire up again after being in a chin lock for a while, and he does like a backdrop and a power bomb and does a top rope axe handle, and he gets a 10 from the Diamond Doll, which is funny. Then we get some near falls, get a backslide, pin from Bad, a reversal of a pin attempt by Page, like they do that I'll roll you up and then I roll you up thing.
Mm-hmm.
The finish was Max Muscle tried to help DDP by clotheslining Bad, but while he's holding him, but he ducks out of the way at the last second, so he just levels DDP. Bad punches out Max Muscle, pins DDP for 3. New champ.
I like this match. This match was like back and forth, and it's told a little story about Diamond Doll, like doing, possibly maybe going with Johnny B. Bad because she likes him a little bit, maybe.
Bobby was saying some shit like, "There's nothing between those ears. She's a ditz." It's just straight up insulting her.
Mm-hmm.
Saying she was going to wash dishes by hand tonight for like what she did.
Yep. What'd you give it?
I gave it a 6.7. I thought it was pretty good.
Yep, I gave it a 6.8. I enjoyed this match.
Johnny B. Bad's on a roll.
Indeed he is. Match 2. Zodiac versus Randy Savage.
So this was supposed to be Kamala, but it wasn't.
Uh-huh.
I forgot all about that until like they said it. I was like, oh, okay. Zodiac came out to Dean Malenko's music. I don't know why. So why has he got Dean Malenko's music queued up? And then when Macho Man comes out, he shows us he's got the fucking Riz because he's talking to some woman as he's like going, he's doing his entrance. She seemed pretty interested in what he was saying.
And I just wrote down, I was like, Fuck you, Brutus. That's what I wrote.
Fuck you, Brutus. That's your only comments.
Yeah. It's just like Zodiac is such a waste of a character.
It's kind of it makes Brutus Beefcake look shittier than what he is, right?
Yeah, because like when you think of Brutus Beefcake, you're like, I remember he's kind of a legend, and during that time in WWF,
he legendarily carried Hogan's bags. Yeah.
Yeah, and then WCW, he's this dude with like black and white face paint, and it's called the Zodiac.
He also had a legendary parasailing accident.
Yep, came back, tried to kill Hogan, he couldn't kill Hogan, and yeah, waste of his space.
Yeah, I don't know why they gave him this silly ass gimmick because he can't wrestle like that. Like, you know what would have worked as a Zodiac is like Sabu.
Mm.
I don't know why I thought this, but like later, like after I watched the rest of the show today, I had this. I started randomly thinking about what if somebody was in another role instead of the role they got now in like a lot of different ways. I had like wild ideas for some reason, just came out of nowhere. Like, I was like, yeah, I was thinking the same thing you were. Zodiac sucks. Like, I don't like Brutus Beefcake that much, but this just makes him look worse than what he actually is.
Mm.
And he's not like, I don't think he's a great wrestler, really, but still, why do you want to make somebody look even worse? But I was like, Sabu sucks, but you know who could pull off the Zodiac thing? Sabu. Because he wrestles like he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing anyway.
Yep.
That had some other wild thought. I was like, man, what if Bobby Heenan was still in WWF and he was managing Owen Hart? Oh my god.
That would be cool.
It'd be so crazy. Still be in the main event right now. I don't know what made me think that. I just thought that would be a great pairing for some reason.
Yeah, he would have never been that character come from the Raptors, I think.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
Savage jump starts this, and he attacks Zodiac from behind, and then some fan rushes the ring.
Yeah.
And I don't know what he was trying to do. I couldn't tell if he was trying to save Macho Man or what, or if he hated the Zodiac. I don't know. Tony reminds us that he was supposed to fight Kamala, but he didn't make it. He says it's because Taskmaster beat him up and kicked him out of the Dungeon of Doom because he wouldn't follow orders.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense. They get back in the ring. Zodiac goes for a really shitty looking splash, and he misses.
Yep.
So then Savage goes to the top rope and he elbow drops him and pins him for 3.
I wrote squash. Did you give squash?
This was a squash.
Yep.
He got no offense in.
Mm-hmm.
And like this is the kind of match he should have had on Nitro.
Yep.
This is strange.
And I guess because, he didn't like get that amazing win from Kurosawa, they're just like, all right, Brutus, we're gonna like squash you for Savage. And he did the deed.
He did the job.
Yep. Mean Gene Okerlund is backstage where he plugs the hotline and he brings Johnny B. Bad for a victory speech. Bad says that if you believe, then you can achieve. And I was like, haha, he rhymed. And he shows off the WCW TV title, and I like that title. It looked cool.
It's a pretty good little title, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I got to use the bathroom, so continue to talk.
Continuing. Yeah, he says he's never going to give up. He's always going to give 100%, and he's going to keep this beautiful belt. Then Gene references meeting up at some kind of local restaurant, having Greek food and doing karaoke, which sounds like a good time to me. Then after that, they show a recap of Kurosawa and Hawk, Road Warrior Hawk, when they referenced Kurosawa breaking his arm on the previous Nitro. So that's supposed to set up this match, I guess, which is Kurosawa with Colonel Parker versus Road Warrior Hawk. And it starts out like Hawk's like beating the fuck out of Kurosawa. He's hitting like all his big moves. He does like the neck breaker. clothesline. He does like the big fist drop where he jumps in the air. And then, God, there was this. I'm gonna wait till Dubs gets back for this one, but like, he hits a power bomb and he runs the ropes, and then Colonel Parker trips him up. Hawk gets mad and he reaches for him, but Kurosawa karate chops Hawk in the back of the head and he saves him. And he body slams him. Kurosawa body slams Hawk, that is. Then Tony says that there's a fan with a sign. Like, while Kurosawa's getting ready to do something, he's like, there's a fan with a sign out here that says Heenan for mayor. To which Bobby Heenan replies, yeah, that's all I need. Take a pay cut and live in a bad neighborhood.
What happened?
I was talking about how Tony pointed out that there was a fan with a sign that said Heenan for mayor. And then Bobby Heenan said, yeah, that's all I need is to take a pay cut and live in a bad neighborhood, which I thought was fucking funny.
Yeah.
This is Detroit.
Yep.
I skipped over a little spot because it involves Bobby Heenan saying something where a Hawk chopped the hell out of Kurosawa. Like, it was loud.
Oh, yeah.
And then Heenan says, that sounds like a fat girl sitting on a beanbag. Fucking I cracked up for real when he said that. I was just like, wow. And it popped Tony for real, too.
Yep.
He's like, I can't believe the things you say. Kurosawa goes for like a top rope elbow drop and misses. And then Hawk sets Kurosawa up, hanging on the ropes like he's doing that thing with his arms. And then like he clotheslines him out of the ring, and then he leaps out of onto the apron. Hawk does, and he clotheslines Robert Parker, and he starts convulsing and shit on the ground.
Yeah, I laughed.
I was like, well, that was honestly a great sell. Kurosawa ran Hawk's head into the post after that because he was like distracted. And he throws him in the ring, and then he hits like a water wheel drop, which is like you're doing a backdrop, but you fall with the guy. That's like honestly the best way I can explain it. And then he does a Samoan drop, and he pins him, but he puts his legs on the ropes, and Parker holds onto his legs so Hawk can't kick out. He eats the pin due to superior leverage.
Yep. It did look like Hawk's shoulder was a little up, though. But yeah. I know they were trying to get Kurosawa the win. And obviously he did need to win for this, by the way. Because if he would have lost against fucking Hawk, which in my opinion, the Road Warriors are on a downward trend. They're not,
they're not teaming up.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, this was a definite good win for Kurosawa, in my opinion.
Yeah, this helps more than Macho Man just killing him in 2 moves.
Yeah.
I gave this a 5.5. I thought it was decent for what it was. It was short, too. It wasn't like, it didn't go longer than it needed to, I think.
I gave it a 5.3 out of 10, so.
I liked Hawk beating the fuck out of him. I don't know. It was kind of fun to see.
Yep.
Also, the crowd was throwing lemons at the heels as they were leaving. It looked like lemons. I couldn't really tell, but it looked like yellow. What else is a small yellow fruit but a lemon?
Yep.
It's kind of strange. We get an infamous Macho Man interview.
Yes.
This is where I was like, oh, that's where this one comes from. So Mean Gene's in the bag with the Macho Man, and he's like, Savage won his match, so now Luger has to beat Ming, so Savage and Luger can have their match they agreed on that's supposed to fix their relationship somehow. Savage said he did it, and he even had a bit of audience participation. I thought that was funny that he referenced that. And he says Hogan can't separate business from friendship, but he says he's his friend. And he looks at Gene, and he's like, your mustache is crooked. And then Gene's like, well, your beard's a little sideways. And they start having an argument.
But it's so funny. And he's like, your beard is sideways. And he's like, I guess it is. He's like, he didn't expect Orkerland to come back like that, I don't think.
No, they just did this thing where they were bickering for a bit. And then Gene just goes, how did we get into this? And then Savage is like, that's okay. And he just kind of refused it just out of nowhere. And he says he's going to watch the monster truck match, and he's going to be watching through the video scope. Yeah, and he gets out of there.
Yep. What I love about Macho Man is like his interviews are so unique, where he's like pacing in front of the fucking video scope before he like Mean Gene talks to him. He makes it look real.
He's always moving around. He's like turning his back to the camera. I'm sure Vince fucking hated that, but whatever.
I think he did on purpose because he knew Vince would get mad.
Maybe. He just does what he wants.
He's got that macho manness, yeah. Match number 4, Mr. JL versus Sabu with the original Sheik. And I wrote, God, this was awful to watch.
Yeah. So then Mr. JL is just JL now, which is like even worse.
Yeah.
It's very Vince-ish. It's like they took his last name away and just called him like Jay.
It's like, yeah, like when, Vince, he'll be like
Theory.
Mustafa Ali, but then it's like Ali.
Your Austin Theory, your Theory now.
Yeah.
Fucking dumb. He didn't ask a very important question during his entrance, though. He's like, what's JL stand for? Jerk lunch? Just a loser? Like, Sheik comes out with Sabu, and he's holding a scimitar and shit, and that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
But then Sabu totally buried him because he just ran away from his uncle and just rushed the ring. Yeah. So, like, literally, like, they were just walking out, and, like, within 2 seconds, he rushed the ring, so you couldn't even see the Sheik on his entrance anymore because he's old. He's not going to run.
Yeah.
And I was like, he buried his uncle. What the fuck?
Fuck Sabu, by the way. He's so like annoying to watch.
Yeah, he was annoying here too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and it starts off sloppy as hell at first. It's like Sabu and JL fuck up moves. I think Sabu, like, he went for like an Asai moonsault. You just do a moonsault off the apron out into the floor.
Uh-huh.
But like when he lands on JL, he fucking hit his uncle too. It's like his feet hit him in the head and he knocked him down.
Yep.
It's like he might have judged that a little bit better or something. After like fucking up multiple moves, they kind of tighten things back up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And they string together some wrestling that doesn't look so bad. But, like, the crowd just doesn't care at all about this because they don't care about this JL dude. And
they don't care about Sabu because I don't think they're aware of ECW.
I don't think they know who Sabu is. And the thing is like, he does a bunch of flips and shit, but I think they also recognize that he fucks up a lot. And we're not at that phase where the American audience, the general American wrestling audience, is going to chant, you fucked up, so they just don't react.
Mm-hmm.
That's what happens. And, like, it's also wild to me that the Sheik is out there in like Detroit and nobody cares. It's crazy. But in another way, and this gets into like some wrestling history, the Sheik kind of killed Michigan in a way. He kind of killed wrestling there for a while.
Oh, yeah?
Well, it's because he ran the territory there, and But he put himself over all the time. Nobody could ever beat him.
Mm.
And he kept wrestling way too long until he was old. And then the other thing was his roster was old too. Like, they never got any new stars in because nobody would go there and win.
Yep.
You just get fed to the Sheik. So he kind of killed Michigan.
Everything dies in Michigan anyway.
It's true. The auto industry, wrestling.
Yep.
The Giant.
Yep.
The finish was Sabu hit his rebound moonsault off the ropes and pinned JL. And then Sheik threw a fireball at his face, which was cool, but nobody got a good shot of it, which fucking sucked.
I wonder if it was approved.
Probably not.
The Sheik probably got annoyed that he had to take a bump, so he fucking threw fire into fucking a white dude's face in the mask.
Fuck this. Just threw a
Yeah.
fireball. I don't blame him.
I dislike this match. I think Jerry Lynn needs to get out of his VR Trooper get up.
Maybe he can't see. Like that mask fucks with him or something. I don't know.
Probably. Just be a white dude that knows how to flip. Like you're Billy Kidman before Billy Kidman, Jerry Lynn.
You can set the standard for indie wrestling years before it actually takes place.
Yep. And Sabu, I was never a fan of him in ECW, and I just don't give a shit about him in WCW. I agree with you with like the Sheik. He buried the Sheik with the entrance because Sabu likes to fucking run like it's ECW all the time and do a flip for no apparent reason. So I gave this a 4.2 out of 10. Fuck this match.
He gives it 4.4.
Mm.
I got more upset about it when I talked about it. Like I gave it a higher score. It was still like not good.
Mm.
But after I actually said it all out loud, I was like, I don't like this. We go to Bobby and Tony, and they're talking about the Giant. And Bobby says that Hogan knows nothing about the Giant. But the Giant knows all about Hogan because he has all these tapes and he's watched him since he was a little boy because he's Andre's son. And then he tells us that we're going live to the Taskmaster's lair, and we'll hear from him and the Master, who's King Curtis. And the camera just cuts over past the video screen into the stage. His lair is on the stage of the entrance. Okay, I thought we were going to go to like some place backstage. Maybe he misspoke.
Maybe.
And King Curtis does another amazing, insane promo. I can't do it all because it involves me yelling at the top of my lungs to do it right. He says, Sullivan! The moon is full over Detroit, Michigan. The stars are lined up. The great Milky Way is ready for you, my son. He's basically saying that the Giant and the insurance policy of the Yeti will destroy Hulkamania around the globe.
Mm-hmm.
And then Taskmaster says some stuff too.
Yep.
That's the promo, basically. I mean, like it's like Taskmaster just cut a promo like him, but it wasn't as crazy.
Yeah, it's the same thing that like Taskmaster had been talking about, like literally killing Hulkamania, and that he knows he's the evil Hulk Hogan, and you know things are changing. Essentially, we'll see about that.
And we get pitched again to the back with Mean Gene, who's back there with Hogan and Jimmy Hart and some people.
This ruined the gimmick for me. Like
it did. They broke kayfabe.
Yeah, you're trying to be evil, right? This would have been great for Macho Man, by the way. And
or
Macho
Sting.
Man, yeah, or Sting like that. But like giving it to Hogan, where he's like already prototyping his Hollywood Hogan gear with the lightning trunks.
Yeah.
And he has the black bandana. And he's, literally like, you could tell the wife is pissed off at the husband winning this bike, by the way. Because she looked fucking angry. She only smiled when Hulk Hogan looked into her eyes. Maybe because she saw a real American. I don't know.
Maybe she was just nervous to be in front of the camera.
Maybe. But every time when Hulk Hogan got handed the keys to the husband, she was not happy.
Maybe she didn't want to ride on the back of the motorcycle all the way to Alabama from fucking Detroit, Michigan.
True.
Some people aren't into that.
Yep.
God. But yeah, that's all this was the motorcycle giveaway thing.
Yep. And fucking Harley Davidson fucking dude in the background just laughing at what Hulk Hogan said. Because probably like this guy's fucking dumb.
He's putting him over. He thought it was great.
Yeah.
Then we get a commercial for World War III, and man, I'm not looking forward to that.
Me either.
It sounds like such a. I've never seen a World War III. I don't think. For some reason, I never saw those pay-per-views.
I've seen him, and there's not a good one.
That's what everybody says. None of them are good. And when you hear about it, you understand why. 60 guys in 3 rings. It's like they tried to, and it's not like the it's not like
War
Royal
Games
Rumble.
without the cage.
It's War Games without a cage, and it's not a Royal Rumble where guys just come into the ring. They're all just in there.
Yep.
It's a giant clusterfuck battle royal.
And some people go into different rings and stuff. Lex Luger yells so loud in War Games. I can't wait.
But oh man, I've never seen one. I'm scared too.
Mm-hmm.
But then we get Lex Luger versus Ming with Taskmaster.
Why did Lex Luger get a fucking like fucking like an opponent that could actually beat him compared to like Macho Man?
Yeah, it's like Macho Man got an easy match and Lex Luger got a hard match.
Yep.
It's because he's in on the plan.
True. He has to like keep the cover good, I guess.
This match was okay. It kind of played out more like a long TV match.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, the last match that they had on TV was a little better than this was.
And I thought Meng was like away from the Dungeon of Doom. I guess he's still kind of in it.
He's an affiliate.
Okay.
He's a Dungeon of Doom affiliate. I think the TV match they had was shorter. That's why I liked it a little better.
Mm.
But Lex started off strong, but Ming got control, and he kept it for a long time. He was like biting him and doing martial arts and shit, and doing his Ming stuff.
Yep.
He was beating the hell out of Luger. And then Ming also does a really nice power driver.
Yeah, I was actually surprised about that.
He busts that out every now and then. I guess that's like one of his regular moves.
Mm-hmm.
During the match, there's like speculation about what's going on with the Taskmaster and Lex in the Dungeon of Doom. Because they take note that like Taskmaster's acting kind of subdued at ringside and he's not really getting involved.
Mm-hmm.
But like Luger eventually gets a comeback going after he hits Ming with like 4 clotheslines and 3 of them don't knock him down. And then he hits a power slam for 2 and a backdrop. And like Ming, as he's recovering, he gets the golden spike. And he hits him with it. And then he goes to pin him, but then the Taskmaster gets in the ring and he stops Luger, causing him to get a DQ in his favor.
Mm-hmm.
And then Ming's upset, and he pushes Taskmaster, and they have words.
I'm guessing they're not going to be an affiliate anymore.
Maybe not. On the replay, it's really funny. They show Ming using the golden spike, and it looks like a gold-plated spoon. I'm like, that's the golden spike. It's like some spoon he got from a Holiday Inn.
I got a question for you. Solo spike compared to the golden spike. Would you want like Solo to carry an object to make the spike like deadlier, or should it always be how he always does it? It makes it special.
I think you get more heat if everybody knows that guy has a foreign object that he uses all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I think it would get more heat, actually. Because remember, like, this is like the early, there's probably somebody that's done it before, but this is like an early example of the brass knuckles thing. Regal got the brass knuckles over even more because he would, like, do so much subtle shit or, like, obviously be like, I'm getting this, and he shows you he's got it, and then, like, the referee never sees it somehow or something.
Yeah, he always pulls it out of his dick trunks.
It rests on his dick, so when he punches you in the face, you get dick punched, basically.
Yep.
What do you think of this one?
I enjoyed it. I kind of like that they Taskmaster chose Meng. It would be like, hey, we're affiliated. We used to be, in the Dungeon of Doom. Do you want to beat the shit out of this Lex? And he like chooses that guy, but also doesn't help him essentially. Because I did see him like be subdued compared to other Dungeon of Doom matches.
Yeah.
And I was like, ooh, they're planting the seed kind of, and I kind of like it. So I'm going to give this the Dungeon of Doom curve. And I'm going to give this a 5.9 out of 10.
That's what I gave it.
Nice.
We matched.
But do you agree? Like, you like the plant seeding here? Because
they did a good enough job with that, I thought. Yeah.
I wish, even on like WWE side, they kind of do. Like, Triple H has done it a little bit, but I want more of this, like, in match type of stuff.
Yeah, like things happen where like somebody comes out or they act kind of strange. You're like, what?
Yeah.
And they're like, but I think this happens later on in the night in another match, and it doesn't work as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think you know what I'm talking about, but
Yep.
Mean Gene's in the back with the Giant, who's wearing a racing suit, which is something I thought I never would say. And the Giant grabs Mean Gene's hand and pulls the mic up to his face, the thing you were talking about earlier.
Yep.
And yeah, Gene's selling it like, like has to hold his arm. Because I mean, legitimately, like Mean Gene's like what, 5'8", 5'9", probably.
Mm-hmm.
And like, so this guy's got like a 1.5 feet plus on him in height. And he's like doing his promo, and Gene's like selling his arm the whole time, and he's like he's crushing his hand too because he has to hold his hand.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he gets the mic back, he's like, "How about from now on, you can either have the mic or just let me hold it." And he just laughs at him, like he laughs uproariously, like he's amused.
Yeah, I kind of liked it because I kind of think it was more of like Paul Wright being like, it's kind of funny that he came up with that, and just
I think
like
he popped a little bit for real there.
Yeah.
I think this is probably a Mean Gene thing. It comes off like that way to me. Like he decided, I'm gonna start selling my arm because this hurts.
Like he would start talking and he'd be like, and he like look at his hand. I'm like, cool shit, bro. Like, I give you fucking hype for that.
I think these are his ideas because it reminds me of stuff he used to do with Andre.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like Andre, like he did that thing where he put his hand on his face. He like made a reference that was like a callback to that. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I want to think that's probably Gene's ideas, but I don't really know.
Mm-hmm. So we go.
Giant's still pretty early in his career right now. He's really barely gotten started.
Yeah, and it's so funny because like there's a portion of WCW where like the Giant gets big, and then all of a sudden he shows up in WWF, and it's like it's gonna be a weird transition seeing him from this company to the next.
Got a funny story about him later.
Yep. All right, match number 6: Arn Anderson, Brian Pillman versus Ric Flair and Sting. Sting.
We're still unsure of Ric Flair's status, so Sting walks out alone, and he shaved his weird goatee off, thank God, because it just looks awful.
Mm-hmm.
Sting is by himself, so this is like a reverse of what happened on the previous Nitro.
Yep.
The Nitro before the last one we saw. Arn starts trying to hair pull Sting down, which I don't know if he has enough hair to do that with, but he does it anyway. From like a wrist lock, and Sting keeps kipping up and stuff. And then Sting just gut kicks him, hits face crusher. It's great. And then this is I already said that. They do this cool spot where like Pillman suckers Sting into going outside because like so far he's kind of staying in the ring when they retreat and shit.
Uh-huh.
And then they do this cool spot where he suckered him out there. Arn basically laid in wait like he was going to clothesline him out on the floor. Sting ducks it, clotheslines Arn and Pillman. So he's like, the baby face outsmarted the heels. And then like Tony's like praising Sting, talking about how great he is. Then Bobby just interrupts. He's like, "Oh, please, come on! Did you co-sign on a house for him?" I thought it was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Brian does this thing where he tries to shake Sting's hand, and then Sting's like, You want me to? And then he's gut kicks him. And he military presses him for like a really long time.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see. I think, yeah, Arn manages to get a few blows on Sting, but Sting comes back over and takes back over, and he sets up Arn for like a catapult. And like it's like an old, you don't see this move anymore where guys grab your legs and they just fall and fling you out either at the floor or like at the turnbuckle or something.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really see people do that a lot anymore. But he did that, and at the same time, Pillman was climbing the turnbuckle, and Sting launched Arn into Pillman when he was climbing the turnbuckle. So Pillman splits his sack, and then Arn's all discombobulated. Arn manages to recover, though, and he throws Sting's head into Pillman, which is like an old spot he used to do with, Ole and shit.
Mm-hmm.
And he gives him this big old gut shot, and then Flair comes out in street clothes with like this big bandage on his head. And he takes his spot in their corner. So Flair's here. Arn keeps Sting grounded and tags Bryan, and they do a rocket launcher, but Sting gets his knees up. And he tries to tag Flair, but he can't make it in time. He's just too beat up. Arn hits a back suplex. Sting tries again. Gets cut off again. They keep cutting Sting off. And then there was like a spot where Flair chased Pillman all the way around the ring because he tried to attack him, and that was funny.
Mm-hmm.
Then Bryan and Arn do this, the leverage spot where somebody gets somebody in a submission and then they reach for their buddy out there so they can get leverage. It hurts more.
Mm-hmm.
They did that when Bryan had Sting at a half crab, but he was facing the wrong way, so it didn't make any sense. It's like he was facing towards Arn, so when Arn was pulling Bryan, it's like he was pulling Bryan off of Sting. It's not the right way to do it. Sting fires up with some punches. Arn cuts him off with a spine buster. And Sting's getting put in holes, and he's like, Nature boy! He's like clawing. And then Flair's like, I'm here, Sting. Come on, buddy. Come on. And they're putting this over, like, because he's been getting his ass kicked for a long time.
Mm.
And then Arn puts him in a bear hug, but Sting manages to find out of it. And then he gets cut off again. You're like, fuck. Like, you're building up this hot tag.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, Sting just out of nowhere, he does the same thing Arn did to him earlier. He throws, like, Pillman into Arn in the corner, and then Sting manages to finally tag in.
Uh-huh.
And then Nate gets out there and whoa, and he does like the strut and everything. And then he runs the ropes and he punches Sting right in the face.
We called it.
And they beat the hell out of Sting.
What was the point of, like, I get it, like, they did this whole, he got beat up backstage. So he's not, like, fighting against his friends, essentially. But what do you explain all those bookings that happened before this? Like,
yeah, it's like what we was talking about last episode, where it's like he's in a cage match with Brian Pillman, and he could have like Arn or whatever, and like somebody could have got seriously injured in there.
mm-hmm.
Like, what the hell? So that's the end of it. Like the match just got thrown out. Basically, nobody won.
Mm-hmm.
Sting got really fucking pissed when he realized that Flair betrayed him, and he almost kicked his ass, which I thought was great. But like it didn't matter. He was just too beat up and tired.
Yeah. And
Bobby's all behind Flair now again. He's like, I've done some double crosses, but that was great. That was fantastic. And I got to admit, we kind of made fun of this a little bit before, but after I saw it play out, I was like, you know what? That was actually pretty good.
I think I would have booked it differently.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
I think, no, I'm just talking about in this match in a vacuum.
Oh, okay, in the vacuum. I thought you meant the whole getting there.
I would still do that differently, but that's just me. But like in a vacuum, this match, I would have Ric Flair not get beat up during the beginning of the pay-per-view and show up, and while he's in the ring, like either Arn Anderson or Brian Pillman just do like holds and stuff, like not very offensive moves. And then when he would tag in Sting, he would do like offensive move where it's like punch, suplex, just very damaging move sets and stuff. And then it would go back to Ric Flair, and it would be like nothing. And the commentary team would be like, "Ooh, why is Brian Pillman and Arn Anderson doing holds compared to what Sting and stuff?" And I think that would have been good storytelling, in my opinion.
It would have been. I think they just went with the easier route, which was you could believe Brian and Arn would beat up Flair backstage.
Mm-hmm.
I gave us a 7.
I gave it a 7.2. I was a little high on this one.
It popped me when it actually played out, especially when Sting was like, "Nate!" He's like fucking dying in the ring and shit.
Yep.
I don't know, that just got me.
They sold that pretty well. Hey, I gotta use the bathroom real quick, so just keep on talking. I'm sorry.
All right. Let's see. After that takes place, Mean Gene is at the entrance ramp, and he's like disparaging Flair for like what he did, him and Arn and Brian did to Sting. And then Flair comes rolling up with all three of them, and then basically says the Horsemen are reuniting, and him and Pillman throw up the fours, and Pillman does like a woo, which is really funny because his voice is just so raspy he can't get high. And then Arn says, "Be careful what you wish for," to all those bloodthirsty fans out there that ask for this, because you got it. I guess the bloodthirsty fans wanted the Horsemen to reunite, and they got it. See, Mike Tenay is with Lex Luger after that. And Mike Tenay validated me because he finally called what Ming does the Asiatic spike. So I did. You guys know now I didn't just make that up. It's something somebody said. But Luger says he doesn't know why other people here want the match to take place between him and Macho Man. But it is what it is. And he says Savage can commiserate with Hogan if he wants. But he's here to prove to the WCW he's the greatest wrestler. Luger always says the WCW, so does Brett. I always think it's funny. Luger didn't flub any lines this time either.
Mm-hmm.
He got through it okay. I don't know if you caught it, but I was talking about how Mike Tenay said Asiatic spike, so you guys now know I was never making that up.
Yep, he was right all along.
Somebody's called it that before.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. We go back to Tony and Bobby, and Bobby says he wants to see a new world champion because he's fucking sick of Hogan.
Same, brother.
Same. And we get a big old recap of Giant Hogan. And then we go back to the commentary desk again, and Uncle Eric's there instead of Tony. And now there's a guy named Bob Chandler there who is part of the Bigfoot monster truck outfit, I guess, is where he comes from. He built Hogan's monster truck. Bobby asks him some questions, and like Chandler says the engine has 1,500 horsepower. The tires are 6 feet tall, and they each weigh 1,000 pounds. And the fucking truck weighs a total of 5.5 tons. I'm like, fuck. He was like, "There's 2 Greyhound buses on the roof of this building." It's pretty good for him to think about that, actually.
Mm.
So this is it, the semi-main event. They take us to the roof, and then there's some dude there explaining the rules. And he says that there's 2 explosive charges set in random spots in the ring. Like, what? And then that's what Eric says. Did he say there was explosive charges? And he says they're going to weld their bumpers together before they start. Then you literally see a guy welding their like hitch together so that they can't like break apart.
Yeah, so they can't, like, I don't know, fucking drive off the side of the building, I guess.
Yeah, or something like that. And then Bob Chandler says, if those charges go up and it hits their fuel lines, they're finished. He's like, so he just kind of casually said somebody could just explode and die. So the duel happens, the monster truck duel. It's two trucks just pushing each other back and forth after like all this hype. Giant pushes Hogan's truck into a charge. It goes off, but like you see like a pyro happen, but like nothing really happens. And Hogan just pushes Giant out of the ring and wins.
Mm-hmm.
It seems short, but like this all happens in like a span of like 2.5 minutes, maybe. But that's all that happens. And Giant gets out and he's pissed. He gets out of his truck and he goes after Hogan, who's like fucking scared of him for once. And then he like starts choking him, and he like grabs him and puts him up on like the ledge of the building while he's choking him.
Mm-hmm.
And then he gets up there with him, and then Hogan breaks out of the choke, and then Giant's like, oh, he falls off the ledge, and then you hear like a vague splash or a splat sound. It's really low.
Mm-hmm.
And Hogan's like, oh God, get help, somebody help.
Where he like did a promo about like dragging his dead carcass all over like the ring and stuff.
Hogan talked about how he wanted to like kill him and shit, and like all of a sudden how he's evil now, and now he's like, get help. Just God damn it. And then like they're playing this all off like it's a shoot now.
Mm-hmm.
Like it reminds me of the Owen Hart incident, like the way they're trying to act. And I'm like, is this just like a bridge too far though? Because it's like, what the hell? Like nobody really believes he got knocked off a fucking building.
If they ended it that way, like I'd be like, yeah, holy shit, is he dead? We gotta wait until like Monday Night Nitro to find out if he's actually dead. But they were just like, nah, bitch, he's alive and he's gonna be in the main event tonight.
Well, we only find that out when he actually comes out, though.
Yeah.
But man, this is like one of the all-time like, what the fuck? You could argue this is like a bad angle thing, probably, for like WCW. I love it, but it's awful. Like that's basically how I try to describe it to people. It's so bad that it's kind of good in a way.
In my opinion, it's Turner TV being like, you know, we have rights to some monster truck. What if we put monster truck and wrestling together? And then that's what happened essentially.
It's either that or Eric came up with this.
Mm-hmm.
So he was trying to do like wild promotional shit to like get attention at times.
I bet you did get attention and be like, what? They're gonna have a monster truck wrestling match? What?
It did. I remember watching this, and everybody was making a big deal about it, like back then, actually. But like, you know, they could have done this better, I think, than what they actually did.
Yeah.
Like if they were willing to spend the cash to have this happen, they could have spent a little bit more cash maybe and did this thing like I wouldn't have even had this thing where they were just pushing each other. I would have done like a demolition derby kind of thing where the Giant and Hogan have to actually run into each other with monster trucks.
I think maybe they were afraid.
They're probably afraid somebody would get hurt, but that's the way I would do it. And then like, you know, it doesn't have to be like he's running into him full fucking speed, you know? Like they could kind of work it a little bit maybe.
They could have done competitions also where it'd be like, all right, here's a bunch of cars, just fucking destroy them. And
yeah.
But again, that probably would cause a lot of like training that would have to happen. And what if like Hulk Hogan shit the bed and like doesn't know how to do a fucking monster truck and only like crushes one car compared to like Big Show doing like 20 essentially.
Also, I would have done some kind of thing to make you think, oh shit, the Giant's dead more convincingly than what they did. Which is, I would have his truck explode off of one of the explosive charges. You can film it a way where it looks like the giant exploded, and then like the guys come out and put the fire out real quick and shit, and they get some. It could be a dummy. It could just be a big dummy or some shit that's like smoking.
Yeah.
But oh my god, he's burned his own holy shit! They're freaking out because you literally saw a monster truck explode.
And they do a replay of that dude like being like, if that hits the gas line, they're dead.
It's like echoing in the background.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think they could have done better than what they did. Whatever.
This is an angle, by the way, right?
This is an angle. This isn't a match. What do you rate the monster truck duel?
A 5 because it's so unique, but also trash at the same time.
It's like a spectacle.
Mm-hmm.
You know. And they're like, they're selling this like somebody's dead.
Yeah.
Bob's like, what do we do? What do you want me to do? Can you get some answers? He's like freaking out because he wants to find out what the hell's happening.
Mm-hmm.
The show must go on,
as Vince would say. We move into the match that was made by Sting. He stipulated this match.
Sting booked this.
Yeah, Sting booked this. He could have just had Lex Luger versus Randy Savage, but he made him go through a fucking obstacle.
Because he's in on it.
To get to this point. So Lex Luger versus Randy Savage. Take it away as far as the play-by-play.
Not much to this one either. Lex wanted to shake Savage's hand, and he didn't want to do it, so he just kicked Lex in the gut and started punching him.
Mm-hmm.
He gets Irish whipped, and then Luger hits him with the clothesline. He's like fucking pissed. He starts stomping the shit out of Savage in the corner. He's like choking him with his boot. And then Jimmy Hart comes out for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
And then like he's taking over at this point, and he takes Savage outside. But then Savage starts throwing Luger into the security railing and the stairs and the railing. And every time he does it, Luger's like, oh! He's like really playing up the oath thing.
Yeah.
After Savage makes his comeback, Jimmy gets up on the apron and like they get back in the ring and stuff. And then like he starts talking to the referee. Like you first like, what's he doing? Then it just seems like they're having like this really long conversation. And then like Savage and Luger keep fighting in the background. And Luger even manages to like stack up Savage out of the corner, and he's like pinning him. He's putting his feet on the ropes and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Ref's not paying any attention. He's too busy talking. They tie up though, and Savage shoots Luger off, and he runs into Jimmy Hart. Jimmy falls off the apron, and Luger hits the mat because it looks like they hit heads or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then Savage goes to the top rope, hits an elbow drop, and gets a 3. He pins him. That's the match.
It was so weird.
It's really disappointing after all this build-up. Like, they've been talking about this match for weeks. And that's what happened. It wasn't even – it was like a few minutes, and it just ended.
You know – so just like I gave it a little bit higher, but like since talking about it now, I'm kind of like annoyed.
They didn't really do anything.
Yeah, because I'm like, it's Randy Savage, Lex Luger putting on a match, but it ended with a wet fart.
Really anticlimactic. And it was really weird that Jimmy Hart came out there and just like, well, why the fuck is he here? Why is he talking to the referee? Like this. This is like the bad version of like what we've been talking about.
Yeah, it's a bad planting of the seed, essentially.
They planted a bad seed here.
Yep.
They didn't dig up the dirt right.
So I originally had this at a 5.7, but I'm bringing it down to a 5.4 out of 10.
I gave it a 5.2.
Okay.
I was really disappointed. I was like, I was thinking this could be a decent match, and they could have had like a weird screwy finish anyway if they wanted to. because of who's involved. You don't want either of those guys to really definitively beat the other one. That's okay, but not like this. It makes Luger look dumb, or does it? You don't know now.
Yeah.
Was he faking? I don't know. I think after that match, Bobby has like a fit and he just storms off because he can't get any answers about what's going on.
Yeah, I wrote like Bobby storming up because they still haven't given the update on the Giant, essentially.
Yeah.
And he just like goes off and Tony's alone.
He comes right back after like a minute.
Yeah.
He's like, I can't get anywhere. The doors are all jammed up with people. There's like 500 people there. It'd take me like 4 hours to get out. And he's like, it's ridiculous that they don't know what's going on, that they can't find out. It's the 90s. We have walkie-talkies. We have headsets. We have phones. And nobody can tell us anything. He's kind of right. Like, why? And he's like, the only reason we don't know why is because something bad happened. He's like, he's pointing his finger and shit. Then Michael Buffer's out. And he's going to announce the main event, I guess. He goes to announce the Giant, but then Hogan comes out with Jimmy Hart instead.
Yep.
And then Hogan's like doing the no, brother, cut the music. And he does the apology. What happened out there on the roof, brother, wasn't what was supposed to go down. I'm sorry, but when I looked over and I saw the Giant, man, and then like the Dungeon of Doom music starts playing, and then the Giant comes out with the Taskmaster.
Yeah. I knew what they were doing, but it's like goofy, like 80s WWF, essentially. It's like, you're not a superhero, bro, and this is not like a villain that just showed up. I get it, that's how it's being booked, essentially, but it just doesn't work in 1995.
No. And see, if we booked it my way, where there was the explosion, and like, did he get severe burns and shit? Is he going to be able to wrestle?
Mm-hmm.
You could have had the Giant come out and like rub all that Johnny B. Bad soot all over him. Like he looks like he's singed or some shit, and he's all burned up. You can do like makeup like he's got burns. Oh my God. He survived it.
Yeah, and he could, and if Hulk Hogan would allow it, it would be a squash match, essentially.
How fucking wild would that have been if the Giant came out there and just killed him and pinned him?
Yep. That would put over the Giant, but I guarantee Hulk Hogan was just like, brother, I'm gonna win. You'll get your due.
The Giant never got his due.
Yeah.
And even Big Show will tell you that in person. Hulk Hogan's not Undertaker. This was funny. Like the match starts, so yeah, it's on, brother. And Hogan takes his bandana off, and then he reveals he has markings on his head like Kevin Sullivan has.
Yeah.
So he's Majin Hogan now. That's what I thought immediately. Like it's Majin Hogan. We had Majin Crush, and the New Day have Majin Buu tattoos on them. The symbol now they both have it, so they're Majin New Day, and now we got Majin Hogan. What do you think of this match?
It kind of looks like just any other match that they had, essentially.
You mean Hogan?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a Hogan match. I mean, those things kind of are what they are in a way.
But it's like, this is what I really hated about WCW. Because WWF, at least it has like some type of conclusion to a big event, essentially. In WCW, they do this bullshit where like, oh, it's crescendoing to a point where everything's gonna fucking finally either a big thing or it's gonna conclude in a good way, essentially, or a bad way.
Yeah.
And like WCW Nitro era, they always do this crescendo, and then they go to a pay-per-view and it's like a DQ. And it's literally a pile of people in a ring, and they're like, "We'll see you on Monday." And I'm like, "Fuck, dude, like this should have been like better organized compared to what they always do." And
Yeah, can anybody beat anybody?
yeah, like I get it. There's a Dungeon of Doom, and I get it. There's like good guys with Hulk Hogan and stuff. Even though Hulk Hogan's the evil Hogan, um, it's like I get it what they're trying to do, but I would have liked something where Lex Luger came out, and you're like, oh my god, Lex is gonna help out Hulk Hogan, and he fucking screws Hulk Hogan. Like that would have been better if it was just those three people. Fuck the Yeti, by the way. Like I know that's gonna be a fucking thing. But like if the Yeti was not in there and it was like Lex Luger was the surprise, the insurance policy, sort of say, that would have been more interesting compared to just like we're gonna shove everybody in there, and Lex is gonna turn on Hulk Hogan and Jimmy Hart. By God, he turned on Hulk Hogan. And look, this mummy guy that is called a Yeti.
You still could have had all this like chaos shit happen,
Mm-hmm.
and like the referee's down, but like he recovers, and you know at the end of it, the dust clears. The Giant has Hogan pinned,
Yeah.
and he's still. That's the thing. Nobody is beating anybody. Like,
Mm-hmm.
even if he beats him, if it's like dirty the way he beats him, like he didn't beat him clean, still
Yep.
beat him. Like,
Mm-hmm.
no, because Hogan can't fucking take a damn pin, like
Yeah.
any kind of pin. Like I didn't really hate this because
That's the problem. I don't hate it because this is a Hulk Hogan thing, right?
it's not bad. I mean, it's a Hogan match. It's not like nobody expects a technical, amazing,
Mm-hmm.
fucking. Oh my god, they're doing flips or they're chain wrestling. No, it's a Hogan match.
I just hate that it's like you're trying to make Hulk Hogan different, essentially, based off of just his gear. He doesn't do anything in the ring that makes me be like, oh shit, is he different?
He does no. He does the same shit he did when he
Yeah.
was a babyface. He raked his back and he's wearing gloves. By the way, that's fucking stupid.
The only pop that I gave is that Jimmy Hart turned on Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, that was kind of a big moment.
Yeah.
Like I don't have a lot of play-by-play for this. It's just kind of interesting stuff that happens in the match a little bit, or like little asides.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Like the crowd's into it though. You know, they're actually into the match.
Yep.
It's what I mean by like a Hogan style matches is Hogan punches you if you're the bad guy, and he gets control early in the match usually,
Mm-hmm.
and then the heel will cut him off somehow, and then he'll have control for a while where he's beating on Hogan, and then like Hogan will come back, and usually he'll win.
Yep.
It's nobody does anything crazy where somebody can get really fucking hurt or something because Hogan doesn't like to work like that.
Or he does a DQ where he doesn't lose the belt, but he kind of loses.
Yeah, like one of those wishy-washy kind of endings. From what I can see in this match, Giant is still pretty limited in terms of what he can do.
Yeah.
And he still seems kind of awkward. Funny story about this though, because I went to check into like how long had he been wrestling up to this point, and there's not like a really clear answer on this because apparently he got trained in like '94,
Mm.
and I think Raven actually helped train him, of all people, and he couldn't really get that many matches though for some reason I think, and he was like trying to join WWF at first. He was like he was going up to guys at like conventions, like for like signings and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
and asking like, "Hey, how do I get started?" And like somebody told him like, "Do you have any experience?" And he's like, "No." And he's like, "Well, you gotta go get some experience." And I think he had like a couple matches like on the Indies back then, which is like what's that mean, basically, in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
But he managed to get enough footage of him in the ring to put together a tape to like send to people, And he got his tape. He had a connection where I think he was Mike Chioda. He somehow met Mike Chioda, the referee,
Mm-hmm.
and he was able to give him a copy of his tape. He was going to give it to Pat Patterson. Pat Patterson didn't watch his tape because he thought this was Kurgan, and he's seen Kurgan before. So he was like, "Oh, I'm not watching this shit." So Hogan and Bischoff find Giant and at like some basketball game or something, and then they want to sign him because it's like, well, you should be a wrestler because obviously that guy should be a wrestler.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's how he gets in WCW. He probably does some shit at the power plant to like kind of help him get to a point where he can work more on TV.
Mm-hmm.
But Vince saw him debut at WCW and he was pissed because he found out Pat had that tape and he didn't even watch it. So he could have been WWF if Pat watched the tape. He just chose not to watch it. Like how different could his career be if that's what happened?
He would have been like probably up there as far as in the ranking, essentially, to get a shot at the title or IC at least.
I think what would have happened is Vince would have pushed him kind of goofily at first because he's in that zone. He's in that headspace right now.
Mm-hmm.
But like when Vince kind of gets his head on straight and he starts really trying again, he would have gotten over faster and probably got more good experience than what he did in WCW.
Mm-hmm.
Because he gets to a point where like he's like this, he's an attraction and he's like pretty over, but then like he's not really important at the same because he gets lost in that fucking NWO shuffle shit. He's there.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes you wonder what that could have been like.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, though, Giant doesn't have a lot of moves right now. He's just doing like clubbing blows, and he does like a really good backbreaker though, just because he's such a huge guy.
Yep.
He can do simple moves and they look crazy.
Mm-hmm.
When he body slams Hogan, it's like holy shit. And his choke slam rules.
Yeah, he puts the full force into his choke slams.
It's that delay when he gets the guy up and he holds him up there, and then it's like he falls with him. It makes it look really good.
Yep.
Then the match slows down a little bit because he puts Hogan in a bear hug, and I'm like, oh, yeah. He doesn't know what else to do. And they do the bear hug thing for a while. Hogan comes back and he hulks up and he punches and he does the brother punches, big boot, he hits the leg drop. And then when it's time to cover him, Jimmy Hart jumps up on the apron and he nails the referee in the back of the head with the belt.
And doesn't even hit Hulk Hogan with the belt. He hits him in the back.
They showed a shitty camera angle up. See, the first when you see it on the hard camera, it doesn't look like he missed.
Yep.
But when they show the other camera angle, he clearly missed him.
Yep.
It's like, oh, why'd you guys do that? But yeah, Hogan doesn't realize at first what happens, but then he figures it out and he's like, "Oh, you hit me! What the fuck?" And then it looks like he's getting ready to kill Jimmy Hart, but the Giant saves his ass and he bear hugs him again.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when all the shit starts happening. Macho Man Luger hit the ring, and you're like, "Oh, they're going to save Hogan." Then Luger attacks Savage. It's like that's what I said came to pass. That he's turned on everybody.
Yep.
So he nullifies Savage, and then the Yeti comes out. Yeti! And he gets in the ring, and this guy's massive. He's taller than the Giant. And what's he do? He gets up on Giant, and he hugs him, and he's like humping Hogan.
Yep.
I don't know what the fuck they were trying to do. I think they were trying to go for was like the Yeti was also bear hugging the Giant, so it's like they were crushing the guy in the middle.
Uh-huh.
But when he did that weird movement, it's like he's humping him. Why? No. God
Nope,
damn it.
didn't work out.
And he did it. They did it. He did the same thing again because, like, the Giant, after they killed Hogan, that killed him. He picked up Savage and they did it again.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then the referee eventually comes to and is like, "What the fuck? Disqualification," because they see what's happening.
Yep.
And the Giant takes the belt. He just takes it. He
Yep.
has it now. Luger betrayed Savage and Hogan after all, and it is what it is. What'd you give it?
I wouldn't say it was terrible, even though I
No.
like buried it. I would say it is a good 5.2 out of 10.
I gave it a 5.3 because
Mm-hmm.
there is the match was over with the crowd that helped,
Mm-hmm.
and then like nothing bad actually happened until like the Yeti did his humping shit,
Yep.
and the Giant bear hugged too long, but he's green, like the other thing was, it's a spectacle seeing this huge guy be able to like do this shit in the ring right now, even though he has very limited experience. Like in terms of being like a big giant guy, you haven't seen a guy move around like this since Andre when he was younger, if you can find footage like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of cool when you see a guy that big do stuff.
Yep.
But that's it. That's the end of the show.
What a like, even though like we didn't bury the match, but like the match buries the program.
Kind of, yeah, because of what happens, yeah.
Yeah,
Because of the
and
way it's done.
Yeah, it's just like I think Yeti was a bad touch for this.
Yeah.
It makes Big Show look fucking stupid. It
Lex
makes
Luger should have just been the insurance policy. All this insane shit with the ice block, and I mean, we laugh about it and think it's funny because it's so wild and crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But like in reality, they probably should have. It should have just been Lex Luger as the insurance policy.
I think it would have been funny if they still wanted to do the iceberg where like Lex Luger is in the mummy outfit and he like breaks out of it.
It's Lex Luger. He
Yeah.
he takes the bandages off.
Yeah, like I think I would pop a little bit for that, but
You hear him bust out of the ice block and he goes, "Oh!" And he gives it away immediately.
Oh man, I would love that so much.
This is a weird show, though.
It was good wrestling.
Sometimes,
but it was just like bad presentation.
bad, weird booking shit.
Mm-hmm.
It was a show of betrayals too.
Yep.
So many people betrayed people. Flair betrayed Sting. The Diamond Doll betrayed Diamond Dallas Page. Jimmy Hart betrayed Hogan. Sabu betrayed the Sheik.
Yep.
Lex Luger betrayed Hogan and Savage.
Yep.
This pay-per-view almost felt like it was like a show for angles rather than matches sometimes.
Yep.
It was kind of strange. And a lot of the matches, I would argue, didn't feel pay-per-view caliber. The majority of them didn't.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. I think the closest of a actual pay-per-view match was Johnny B. Bad and DDP.
The opener, and then like I think the tag match with Sting and
Yeah,
the Horseman was too, because it turns into a kind of a beatdown angle, but that's fine because the match was pretty good and the angle was.
Yep.
But I gave us a 5.9.
I was a little bit higher. I was a 6.3 out of 10. Because it's kind of like a happy medium where like it was okay. There was some shitty, but there was like okay things as far as the angles, and I was still entertained compared to an In Your House. In Your House had like bad story and like a couple of good matches and stuff that to keep me entertained, but the story overall was just like, oh, Shawn is got almost killed by fucking Marines, and Undertaker's face got crushed by a big fat black man. So
Diesel and Brett hate each other now.
Yep.
I mean, this show is obviously better than In Your House 4.
Yes.
If this show had one more match in it that was like pretty good, it kind of would have put it over the edge. We're like, this was all right, but it's a little beneath all right to me.
Who would you put? What would you think would be a good match to like maybe put it a little bit over?
Maybe a cruiserweight match just to break up some of these angles and shit. A good one, not JL and fucking Sabu.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could put Eddie, Chris, Dean, any mix of those guys in a single match and just give them like fucking 10 to 15 minutes. I don't care who wins, and that would have probably helped.
Yeah. I don't know who else would be good.
I can't think of anybody else off the top of my head to do that. Like just any mix of those three guys in a single match, I think would have helped.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're trying to feature them, like we're building a cruiserweight division, but like they had JL and Sabu having not that good match, so it doesn't help.
Yeah.
I got the buy rate and the attendance for this show.
All right, what is it?
They got 120,000 buys, which I think's okay for right now, and the attendance was 13,000. Basically, out of a 20,000 plus capacity.
Not bad, but not good.
Yeah, like I could tell when you're watching it, you could see some empty seats sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're scattered throughout the hard cam and some of the other shots. But I think they were purposefully trying to not show you the side that has no people in it.
Yeah.
And this might go back to what I was talking about before, how like the Sheik kind of killed wrestling in Michigan. That might not help.
Yeah.
I think it was hard to draw good houses in Michigan for a while. Like WWF did it, obviously, the Silverdome and shit. Or Pontiac Silverdome, yeah. I almost had a Hogan moment.
They probably saw the Sheik. They're like, "Oh, Sabu's gonna win."
Nope. I mean, he did win, but like he didn't have a good match. He should have won that way too.
Yeah.
Man, if he just wouldn't try to do crazy shit, just actually work, his matches wouldn't be so bad. Slow down.
All right. Well, I'm looking at the Google Doc right now, and it looks like WCW and WWF Raw October 30th, and then WCW Nitro and Raw November 6th. Is that where we're going for next episode?
Yeah, and we'll do our War Journal segment between them because then October will officially be over.
Yep.
And then I don't think that was such a good month for either company.
No, it was kind of like middle of the road kind of stuff, and maybe a little bit of below average.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, to continue the Monday Night Wars and getting some color, make sure you follow us on YouTube on Big Trouble Media, where you like and subscribe. And then later on in the near distant future, we will have it cut up for audio if you want to listen to audio. But right now, we are on Big Trouble Media YouTube channel. So like and subscribe so we can get more views. I saw we had 4 people tonight lurking, including Andy. So
keep lurking.
Yep, keep lurking. But until next time, everybody, remember to get some color. Peace.